add everybody. And I don't know where Terry is.
I'm just looking for a book.
Yeah, I don't think this is gonna be interesting. All right, so I think what this is gonna force us to do is to record these to go live on Google Hangout, save the file, and upload them later to YouTube, which kind of sucks. But I'm doing 2 streams now. So if anybody's popping in, I have Tony on the other side who you should be able to hear. Tony, say hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I don't know that they're going to hear that. But the cool thing, we actually have the chat window, dude.
That's great.
Yeah. Let me... Oh, fuck. It doesn't do the... Fuck me. How's this going to work? Oh, and Terry's not responding back. So I do not know what the issue there will be. And she got to be in this. She's got some cool information. We did do kind of, for anybody who is jumping in on the live stream here, which nobody right now, but this is going to get recorded, and so other people will see this. We're actually trying to get 3 people together here via, we thought Google Hangout would allow us to live stream it on YouTube, and it looks like it'll just let us do a chat between ourselves. One of the people hasn't showed up. So I have Tony in another window right now, and then I have this chat window. I would like to be able to consolidate all kind of peanut butter and the jelly with the chocolate, or however the heck that's supposed to work. Sounds tasty. Well, smoke them if you got them, people, because apparently I'm not high enough to figure this out yet.
Smoke them if you got them.
Yeah, why not?
Smoke them later.
Where's mine? Oh, mine's on the other side of the room. I'll have to go get it. We'll show everybody how to make a real sneak-a-toke. It works. It's been working for over a year here. Nobody has a clue I get stoned. Well, they all know I get stoned. They just don't know I'm doing it in the building. And they walk right past with the door open. So I guess if they watch this, I get in trouble. Patrick is back. Okay, Patrick. And even Mike. Hold on. Let me see where Michael is. Patrick, if you want to join us in the Google Hangout, you're welcome to. Patrick is someone who I know through Crowdsource the Truth and several other cool channels online. Tony's on there. If you see that little link above you in the chat room there, Patrick, in another tab here somewhere amongst all of my tabs, and you don't know the joke that is quite yet. I'm famous for having about 70 tabs open. More tabs than people dropped in the 60s. Oh, no, Patrick, I'm not properly baked yet. But Tony already dropped shrooms, so...
I was reading a script report today about a guy that took 40 tabs of acid at McDonald's while he was working.
Oh, that's way too much for McDonald's. Fuck. You got to see the movie Human Trafficking. It's about the rave scene. It's hilarious. It's a horrible title, I know. But it has the greatest rendering of what somebody on drugs might feel like, even though it's not realistic. It's hilarious. And it's got the fucking best soundtrack. It's like John Digweed and Oakenfold, and it's got a fucking dope fucking soundtrack. For any old ravers out there, this is the shiznit. Hold on, Patrick. Let me grab my smoking device. 1 second here. Tony, how do we... you know what? I know how we're going to have to do this. Tony, do you have Skype? That thing's an Android, right?
Yeah, I think I have Skype. I don't have it on. I don't have it installed.
Patrick says I can't speak English at the moment. I can't even think German correctly right now.
That's a good sign.
Yeah. So, my smoking device, a pipe that I gave to my mother over 20 years ago, and it was highly used at that point, by the way. It was not a novice. It had used the fuck out of it. But I gave it to my mom at one point during a really good moment where we were talking, hanging out, and getting stoned, and I gave her a little bit of pot, and she was like, but I don't have anything to smoke it with. And I'm like, take my pipe. And so I gave it to her, and then about 4 years ago, she gave it back to me. She goes, because she'd since then gotten married, and she's still married. Wow, this is over 20 years ago now that I think about it. And she gave me the pipe back. And so I still smoke out of it. But where I live, I'm not allowed to smoke at all because I live above a restaurant. Like, if you go far enough out there, you can probably hear pots and pans banging. Bosnian pyramids. Yes, I have heard of them. And Michael Davis is in the chat room. Oh, Lord, here we go. Hey, Michael, how you doing? Interesting. Michael is somebody who I met September 14th, 3 years ago. Is that correct, Michael? I say we just turn this in. Well, are we up to old me yet? Yeah, Michael, we are. I was introducing you to Patrick because I spoke of you earlier. I have Tony on another window here. We wanted to be able to take and do this as a live stream, but I've never tried this before. I've done Google Hangouts many times. And me and Michael actually tried to do this like 2.5 years ago after he started doing HCO. You know what? Let's do that. Michael, can you see at the very top where there's a link that I posted in the chat room there? Can you see that? Tony, you have an issue if I just turn this into a big hangout?
No, not at all.
Okay. You guys, if you have cameras and you want to participate, I just put a link, and that will put you into the Google Hangout window. And what we may do is we'll stop this live stream. We'll continue it in the Google Hangout window. And when we get all done, I will download the file, save it, and re-upload it. We still want to cover the material. So when we do jump into that, I'll kind of ask that you guys shush like a Catholic or in the library. Maybe in the library. I don't want to know what you did if you're Catholic or where you did it. So this is the way I get stoned without anybody knowing here. Little head rush there. This is full of activated charcoal. The tube that goes down into the bottom of this. So you take the hit, cover it with a quarter. All my quarters have burn marks.
Some of the quarters in my shop have burn marks because of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Bunch of them downstairs do too, and they have no idea why. So the ones across the street. It's because I'm a stoner, motherfucker. Yeah, see a little burn mark on it. Another one right there. That other coins around here. Let's see how many. I just grabbed new ones. I try to cycle through so that, because otherwise somebody looks up and goes, "Oh, dude, why you got all the quarters on your desk? Dude, why they all got burn marks?" All right. What we're going to do is, let's see, because when I'm in this, I see Tony and I can hear you and I can see you. Tony, why don't you talk for a little bit? Let me see if these other guys can hear you at all. Can you hear Tony when he's talking at all? Patrick or Michael? Talk like a normal person, not like a retard. Talk on your mic.
I'm ready to talk about how the world started. I'm ready to talk about how humans perceived the beginnings of our universe and time, and how we got here to be on this planet.
Nice. So the title of this, and I didn't put it in the title, is Ex Nihilo. Okay. Patrick's trying to join the hangout, and Michael, you should do the same. And then what we'll do is we'll kill the stream. That's okay, Patrick. If you don't have to have video. If you want to stay anonymous, you're more than welcome to. Not everybody is graced with this amount of beauty. So I get it. It's all good, man. No issues, man. I got enough for you. Oh, still illegal in Germany. Nobody's in Germany. Shh. That's a little secret.
No one in Germany. There's at least one person.
Yeah, it's okay. Ain't gonna hold anything against you. You're still super cool, Patrick. Michael Davis. Yeah, finally, Michael finds somebody who he's closer to than us. He's just in Texas, almost as backwards as Germany. Almost.
Texas of Europe.
Well, they're quite Gestapo in Texas, you know. You do not want to have had weed on yourself in the last 90 days if you have to drive through Texas. They pull you over and find a frickin' roach somewhere or heaven's a pot seed, and you're, that's it. That's the last thing you see. So we do not have but with better manners in Texas. I'm not sure. You haven't met Michael yet. I'm fucking with him because I treat him like a brother. Because he looks funny in a dress. I can't treat him like a sister. And that just is frightening thought, okay? No Smoky, no Toki. Yeah, that's okay. See, Michael, you can make this, and then you smoke, and you put it away, and nobody smells it. Works for me.
I smell it.
Yeah. Texans took out Willie Nelson's freaking heroes. Who knew he would have pot on his tour bus? Who thought he wouldn't? Come on. Even cops aren't that dumb. Even if they're from Texas. What do you all think going to find on that their school bus? That's not a school bus. That's Willie Nelson. Who's Willie? I don't remember him. We go school him? Get your shit schooled, son. All right. We got Tony. Why don't you? Oh shit! How do? All right, guys. Can both of you make it over into the Hangout, and we'll continue it? Because honestly, I haven't invited a lot of people on this channel. I have not really done a ton of promotions for, and I do want us to cover what the intention here is. Me and Tony have talked about it. We have another person, Terry, who I hope joins. She's gotten an invitation. She's got a busy life though. You know, she's got dogs. I believe she's got kids. She's married. She lives in a state far, far removed from here. That's even fucking cooler because they grow mushrooms everywhere. And I am not on any, but I do know somebody who is. Hint, 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 Tony.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah, Searching Willie. What an insult. There was a question on Quora, and I answer Quora questions up on Quora all the time relating to pot, and relating to all kinds of things. And I answered one time, how much weed does Willie Nelson smoke? To which my response was, I bet if you were to ask Willie Nelson how much weed he smokes, he would tell you the right amount. Just the right amount. It didn't get many upvotes. Freaking lamers. Anyway, it did get a few.
Internet for you.
Still says trying to connect. Why won't it let you? Hold on then. I make sure that it is. Give me an email address, and I'll send you the invite so it won't. Otherwise, we may end up with a whole bunch of people. Patrick? Michael, I got yours. Do you want me to invite you to the... Okay. Hag Shag. That's freaking classic. All right. Copied. Let me come over here. Go. Invite. Now you should be able to get in there with no issue. Michael, which one do you want to use? Give me your email address, Michael. I got michael.xchat or some shit, xdad at oh hell, I don't know. It's in the freaking shopping cart up here on the site. Users, man. Oh, okay, yeah, micahd@mac.com. That's right. Okay. Copy that. Come over here. Control V. So this is going to come to each of you guys from thcv.podcast@gmail.com, and it's probably, obviously, going to be in your email. And why won't it let me add you? It's not letting me add Micah's because why? Fuck, I don't know. You're not getting any love from there. Hold on. Try that again. Yeah, it does not. Well, let me send it this way then. Inbox, compose to Control V. Nope. Control V. Oh, I know why. I think I don't have you. No, because I didn't have him either. I am sorry this is such a clusterfuck, guys. I do not know. And the funny thing is, I used to do technology for a business.
And they made it so easy that it's
New tools, new toys, huh? Yeah, they made it so easy, even a child could do it. Yeah, fucking, you got to have Asperger's to figure this shit out.
It's basically. Jeez.
What? That was a good joke, man. You have to admit. All right, I sent that to you, Michael, and I'm going to get you added into. This is a new account, so I have nothing set up. I mean, I don't even have a single email in the inbox. Oh, I take it back. I have one from somebody named Andy. Fuck Andy. I apologize for this being such a clusterfuck, guys. Kind of hilarious in a way. Is Fashina shy? Michael says he had to hold Google's hand. So we do have. So I thought it would be real interesting to. Well, let's see. Let me see where I start this from. Number one, there's so many people in the world that do not know. I'm blessed to be with 4 people who are awake right now. Patrick, I know he is because I see him online talking all the time. Michael accepts my calls, so I know that he's awake. He now understands his ancient ancestors were over 10 feet tall, right, Michael? I even have the man who owns this place that I live at signing his receipts and everything as Anunnaki. And everybody looks at us, what the fuck is that? What is an Anunnaki?
No one ever reads those signatures.
Well, what's even funnier is when he tries to explain what an Anunnaki is, they really can't understand him. Because he's got a really strong accent, too. And then because he talks in Portuguese or broken English / Portuguese. So it's pretty funny. But we do want to take and actually cover this. And we were going to cover the birth of creation myths, or ex nihilo, as they call it. Ex nihilo, basically, well, it says I got 3 in here now. Tony, did you join? Who's the third one? We'll have a third. No. In the chat room. Let's see who we picked up a. Oh, me. Me. Well, see, the problem is then I can only do text with you, and I actually want all of us on video. Now, Patrick apparently has no video. We'll leave it at that. Michael is in a state that will arrest him if they know what he looks like. He's probably, well, he liked to be wanted by women, but he's probably just wanted at the post office. So... Patrick, it looks already too illegal. It looks already too hit yourself. Oh, legal situation? It won't let you join? Are you shitting me? Okay, I apologize. Then No, he says. What? I meant my camera's off for legal reasons. Oh, that's totally okay. That's totally okay.
All right, I got the chat, but it might. Yeah, I'm in chat now.
Okay, so Tony joined the chat, but see, then we can't hear him, and you guys don't. Am I correct, Patrick and Michael? When Tony's talking, you don't hear him, do you? And so then Tony goes silent. Tony, do a count to 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And they say very faint. Like not even a queef.
It is audible.
It is audible. Okay.
Yeah, my microphone is on a tablet, so I have to. I don't know exactly where it is.
Okay.
I'm just kind of screaming at this.
Well, scream away, because at least then they can hear you. I can see you when I toggle to the other window, but then I can't see what they're typing. And I like having, I'm actually surprised that we got the chat room. Supposedly you have to have 1,000 members to be able to take and do that, but for some reason we actually got that without the 1,000. So that is awesome. We can still take and cover this though. Ex nihilo, Latin, stands for out of nothing. And so a lot of the creation myths have the world coming out of nothing, or God spoke. So that would be somatics that is actually taking and creating it. We see somatics in a lot of different places, like ferrofluids, which Quinn Michaels talks about, albeit incorrectly. I don't believe it to have, and I could easily be wrong, because I think we all agree there's probably about a 50-year understanding difference of what technology is today and what we're capable of doing today. But I'm probably about 35 to 50 years out there. Oh, Patrick's got a Quinn question. Bring it, dude. Yeah. I study disruptive technologies. I've worked in research and development. So I've been studying nanotechnology since 1985. No, Patrick, you're not interrupting. Go ahead. I'm dying to hear the question. I'll continue with kind of my ramble here. But I actually want to take us to what we would call, let's see, how do I best describe? From where we think we came from to what we don't recognize is our future. And I want to cover this in
either ignorance or just
out of ignorance. How? What do you mean?
Out of ignorance, like some people just don't know.
Yeah. I kind of want this. I look at this as it could be. This is to make sure kind of everybody's on the same page so that we understand all the same myths, but we can shake those out to find one that actually seems to be a thimble full of truth. Whoa, hold on a second. Michael, you cut your mic, dude.
I don't hear much of nothing at this point.
Yeah. Michael, you are literally blowing us up.
I haven't done this since it was $6 a minute.
Yeah, dude, there's so much. Your speakers are up too loud, and you're a feedback loop. Okay, Michael, get some headphones.
How about that?
That. Otherwise,
I wasn't the only one. I've been hearing feedback for a while.
That sounded like the aliens were climbing out of somebody's booty hole.
I was just in the great room with the corner horns.
Okay, and your mic is actually cranked way too loud. So turn it down. I know you love to hear yourself.
I'm trying to kill the other noise. Hang on. Don't look at my ass when I stand up. That's rude.
We didn't even know that you were standing.
That was even snarking in its of itself. Okay.
There's a little going on nonstop here. Turn your mic down. Your mic is too hot. Like you sound like you're screaming and you're a foot away from me. Okay, so ex nihilo, Latin for out of nothing. Moses in the creation myth is Genesis is the most famous of all the myths, but it is not the only one. Most involve water, some involve mud, but they all, in theory, bring chaos out of order. Or pizza, as I wrote. I actually want to get us all the way from the myths of creation. We were going to cover like 6 or 7 different ones. Michael, there's a little nonstop, like the hamster in the wheel is running. And I know it's yours because yours is stuck on the screen, and it gives me these little throbbing in sync.
Yeah.
Your speakers are too loud.
That can't be me.
Yes, it is. What it is it's feeding back through.
Well, hang on. If it's me, you should stop it, right?
Yep, and it's silent.
Did that kill it?
That killed it. Just like that. I'm going to turn my speaker down. All right. You're still there, though, right, Mike? Or did you just silence yourself?
Still there, though, right, Mike? I just kicked in my ambient filter.
Yeah, it's feedback. What it is.
Well, that's what the ambient noise reduction does. Is it bounces
out of phase noise, except for there's nothing noisy on the video, so you're introducing it into the channel, and we get this wong 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 wong. It sounds like aliens.
I don't see it on my meters anymore.
Hey Tony, does that feel like a beginning of a seizure? I'm curious because I started watching this movie Impulse, and Michael described a seizure as being teleported.
To me, it sounds like a loud ringing, really, really high frequency, almost inaudible high frequency. And it just kind of encompasses.
Is it still going now?
I hear it, but I don't see it on my meter, so I wonder if it's me.
Well, mute your mic when you're not talking then. So like right now, I'm going to see, and it stops right there. So I know it's coming from your side, which just means you just can't keep your mic open the whole time. And I think we probably should all kind of do that. So let me cover the intro of this so that we can actually start. And we do have, I think, Patrick over on the other side. Audio doesn't work like that. Push to talk. Oh, yeah. Was he right? Let's see. Hold on. I'm reading a question here. One night he was woken up by Tyler and was going on about all truthers fucking up by revealing the information on air and making it not usable by that. I don't recall the exact legalese. My question, I guess, is what he's talking about. Right. Audio. I'm not sure how he meant it, Patrick. He's one distinction. If there's any distinction between me and Quinn, it would be this. I'm much more of a generalist and kind of a hacker. He's a programmer. So he breaks things down into code and sequences and logic loops and algorithms. And whereas I look more at like systems, like a systems analyst. Can we chain these 3 things together and make them actually take and work? This end talk to that end through the piece in the middle that doesn't exist yet. And that's kind of my head, which kind of sums up what I'm wanting to do here. So we want to cover about the myths of creation, the out of nothing, to what 2012 meant with the Mayan calendar. The Mayan calendar is based off of something called the Popol Vuh, the Book of Community. I read it 20 years ago, so I don't remember it quite as well. But I do know enough about it, and I've got my wiki, my local wiki right here available to me, and I have a bunch of that stuff documented. But I want to take and actually get us up to the cyberpunk generation. That is where we are today. And the reason why I think that that's important is for people like Patrick. I don't know how old you are, Patrick. How old are you? Mike, I know, is just a couple years younger than me. Michael says if all mics are muted, the echoing will disappear. Patrick says 40 something. Okay. So Tony's the youngest. Tony's 25. You got an IT background also. Awesome, dude. Linux? Penguin Crossing. Yeah, back at you. Yeah, Berkeley free BSD. Dude, and it's in an Apple. Not very free. They kind of got you on that one, didn't they? Yeah. With a VIC-20. Jesus Christ. My first PC was a Dell, one of those suitcase ones. And we didn't have the discs for it. There was no real... You needed a disc to be able to do it. Don't Palms, Tim. I don't know what Palms is, so I'm not going to worry. I want to be able to take and get us up to the cyberpunk generation. I believe that 2012, December 21st, 2012, quote, end of the world, was the birth of the cyberpunk generation, where we literally go from this reality to the next reality, which will start off augmented, and then it'll become virtualized, and then it'll become synthetic. And fucking America's not fucking ready for this. They can't even handle Trump. You want to handle synthetic reality? Best of fucking luck. Buckle up, bitches. This ride's going to get fucking crazy. Okay?
Yeah, but it's going to be like Matrix, where no one knows when they get it.
You can barely hear you. Can't hear you loud enough, Tony.
Is the transition into the Matrix going to be smooth? Are people going to know when that transition happens?
Well,
or is it just going to happen?
You've heard of simulation theory, right?
No.
No. Uh-oh. There's people questioning if you're not already in it. Because when they actually take and they look at the nature of reality, and when they're doing some of these things like they're doing up at CERN, and they're looking... CERN basically is the equivalent of figuring out how cars are made by standing at an intersection and catching flying parts. Okay? That's the best way to be able to describe what they're doing at CERN. But the thing is they know, hey, if I clip that thing, I can get hubcaps, and I seem to get mirrors. So they're actually figuring out a little bit of shit. What's kind of crazy is if you ask a theoretical physicist how many subatomic particles are, they'll tell you, oh, there's a little over 200 of them. If you go back and you ask the Dogons, who are similar to the Egyptians, how many subatomic particles are, they'll tell you there's 266. How the fuck do they know that? Why do they know that? It's part of their myth of creation, and it's an extension on the Sumerian myth. So, but I want to be able to get people up to where we are today. So this is like theoretical physicists are the dime store sci-fi writers of science, Michael says. Yeah, they are. So here's your nickel magazine. The comics may not look so good. Objects in the mirror may be scarier than they appear in real life. But if you think you're awake, you might not be awake as you think you are. You may already be living in a synthetic reality. The biggest fear that I've had, 1983, I started going to college for electrical engineering. And I'm trying to actually block so there's not so much glare on my glasses. It's not blinding to me. I'm just seeing it in the screen. So, but back at that time, I was deep in deep shit trying to figure out magnetism. And so Tesla fascinated me. How do we have this thing that we can't see, we can't feel? Well, the only closest we can get is to dump iron filings out over it. And it seems to be running fucking everything. Everything. But we can't even tell when we walk through it. It's like water, at least we know when we walk through it. We hear it. It splashes. It gets us wet. Magnetism, electromagnetic force. Man, we have no idea. It could be pulling the iron out of your bloodstream, and I'm not sure if you would feel that. You would probably die. But I think that we're already in. I think that 2012 was the birth of the cyberpunk generation. So we want to take and actually get everybody kind of up onto the same point. Now, I know Michael knows a little bit about the Anunnaki because I exposed him to the Sumerians a long time ago. Patrick, you're pretty dope on that too, aren't you? Yeah, facsimiles of ourselves. No shit, huh? We got facsimiles on computers. Now we're all facsimiles of ourselves. We are already the imagination of a being, just exercising a theory. Matrix analogy is the thing, but we are not batteries. We are actually the implementers of the plan. And I didn't check my systems of belief. I dug it. Mike, right on. Mike, you don't have to stay muted. Just when you want to talk, go ahead and do so. Mike don't have a... Oh, no, he does. He just doesn't have a video camera. He's just putting the other thing on. So I have to toggle back and forth. Let me see. Maybe I can do it this way.
If I could have the floor, I would enlighten you, Tim.
Wow. You know, that comes in almost like a comic.
But I'm afraid when that happens.
Yeah. We all are. Okay, Michael, we're going to... yeah. You're something on your audio setup is... something on your audio setup is... yeah. I hear myself afterwards. It's a feedback loop. It's an absolute solid feedback loop. And my mic was muted during that whole time.
Come up to here. Just coming up to here.
Yeah. That's still, your mic is loud.
Does that work?
Yeah. I can hear you. People outside.
I killed my speakers, believe it or not. That's how slow I am tonight.
Okay. Yeah. That's what you need to do. There
Which
you
means
go.
I won't hear you guys. But I also don't hear feedback.
Yeah. Well, you can turn your speakers up a little bit just because I have them up on my laptop. Do you hear feedback?
If you can hear me, I may have got it.
There's still just a... Turn your mic down a smidge.
It is?
No, it's...
That sounds good.
Yeah, it basically means it's a push to talk when you need to talk. And I think Mike just has the mic, because I mean, I can barely hear Tony. I hear how loud I'm talking. Mike is a lot louder than even I'm talking.
I have no idea where my headphones are.
Actually, I couldn't find mine either. Yeah, do you have...
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you with the echo. Do you have a pair of headphones?
Briefly, if I don't get to do this long. I'm absolutely willing to buy a headset and a mic.
So you're feedbacking with yourself because I have my mic muted.
Let's try this. I can't hear a fucking thing now, but can you hear me without the reverb?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Shake some heads. If there's any women out there, show some boobs, something. Listen, my philosophy, real simply, and I don't need to be educated or evolved beyond this. My guy tore a piece of stoner rolling a dude. A voice called out from the stage and said, "We need a Michael Davis." And however I got there, I got there. Whether it was the Anunnaki, an anteater, or just primordial ooze, I got where I was going. I don't know many Christians that are that, I'm just going to say, evolved. People said when I said my wife was whatever I said at the time, and that I didn't give a damn if I ever met her, wished I hadn't. Oh my gosh, you wouldn't have your sons if you did that. And I said, well, your opinion of God's power is real fucking small, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, I'm not preaching anymore. I just wanted to see if I could get out there.
I actually tell people.
I want to mute my mic and turn up my speaker so I can hear you guys.
Okay. And I do not know what happened to Terry. I texted her multiple times, sent her multiple emails. Apparently she's not making it, which is unfortunate. We'll have to bring her in. What we're going to have to do is, I despise using Skype, but I understand why so many people are using Skype and not Google Hangouts. What will happen here is we can either, and I like Google Hangout. I like Google Hangout for a lot of different reasons, and we'll probably do Google Hangout. We'll probably take and do these at a different time slot, and then I'll upload them and make them live at 4:20. And then, Tony, if you want, when she shows up, can join in when they're released, and we can sit there in the chat window that you guys don't see. Actually, how the fuck are you? Yeah, you'll be able to see it because you log in. Just Michael has seen it. Tony, you saw it. Patrick's still over there.
I don't even know what I've seen yet.
Well, it might be because of what you're on, dude.
Planet Earth. Pretty sure I'm on planet Earth.
Yeah. Let's see here. I switched back over so I could catch up with what was being said. I was exposed. It didn't shake my headset. Sounds great right about now. Yeah, Patrick. So Michael agreed he will buy a headset and a mic. I have one. I'm actually not using it right now. I don't think mine is feeding back at all. Discord is the present. Screw Skype. Okay. I do have Discord.
Discord might work.
Do you want to try that? Michael, you do the same?
I still
but see that all that's that does the same thing that the Google Hangout is doing. I don't see how it does anything different unless it shares a text window with those who are in video. I do have it. I have it on my desktop, which I don't have a camera at because it's pointed at my bed and my porn days are over. I just have a camera on my laptop and I keep that thing closed because nobody wants to see anything. Just like Skype did. It might, just like Skype did. Okay. I will check that out. I'm gonna have to install it on my laptop. Let me see here if it's if it's just an easy install away. It might be. I'm doing some Linuxy shit over on the other side. No. DD2 calendar Discordian. And something, a font name. And another one to convert. No, so it's not in the Google repositories. I will have to. Patrick, got a Discord server set up? Nope, but I could easily do it. I've never looked at Discord. Everybody kept talking about it. I created an account. I downloaded it onto my desktop machine because I like everything I do online, a minimum of 90% of it, I do from a desktop computer because my desktop computer is yay big. Like all the tabs there. Love those tabs. See how many tabs there? That's what I was saying, like 7+ tabs.
Yeah.
It's insane, but handles it like a freaking race car. Literally does. I'm in a tiny little room with storage stuff. I may get crushed one night if there's an earthquake. I'm not even going to be able to duck and cover. It's going to be tuck and smash. Google Chrome kicks ass. I used to always say, for those who use Linux, I learned to do regular expressions trying to kill Firefox. Well, Mozilla, Netscape back in the day, or Opera. That was how I'm taking these off. I need them to be able to read, not that one, but I need it to read this. But it actually bothers me. It blinds me in the eye. Anyway, we're not staying on topic here. So the Sumerians have the oldest creation myth. And some of this is actually live conjecture too. So I'm interested. Torrent including was genius. Ooh, I like that. My issue with playing with Discord, I know I am such an ADD generation, and these chat windows going to be horrible for doing live streams. I can see, because I'm all about, ooh, a squirrel. Where's the pony?
Oh, shit.
What? Anyway, yeah, the Sumerian creation myth I find real interesting because it's where civilization shows up. But we see megalithic architecture out there that easily predates it by unknown amounts of time. And, you go look at something that they built 100 years ago, and unless they've been keeping it up, it's might be all mold. You take, and yet we go and we look at these buildings, and they're easily 10,000 years old. And I mean, a lot of them show a lot of wear, but not like there's been a weekly handyman coming around. They've been getting the fuck beat out of them. Wars going on around them. People sacrificed in them. I watched a pretty interesting movie last night that was trying to tell me that the Great Pyramid of Giza was for storing cannabis seeds. Because it's built to the Dogon tribe. Well, it had something to do with the Dogon tribe, what they were talking about. I think he made a weird segues leap there. 50,000 years old, yeah. For the Bosnian pyramids, I believe that the Great Pyramid of Giza is a power generating plant. We're going to cover a lot. That was the goal, was to cover some of this type of stuff. It generates power. It has, Egypt has had, this is what happens when my other screen goes out. There's no light in my room. It's just crazy. The Great Pyramid of Giza is very similar, and basically what Tesla was trying to recreate with the Wardenclyffe Tower. And once this thing actually gets started, it should run nonstop. You may need to add more around at various places. They generally lay on ley lines. Most of these megalithic structures do. I read a book back about 1983-85 that was called something like How to Build the Pyramids, UFOs, and there was some third thing. They had me at UFOs, so I bought the fucker. But I did learn a lot about the pyramids, but I didn't learn that they had used water. One of the things that we were going to cover, there's a guy named Christopher Dunn, and I want to, let's see, can I do screen share on here? I can't. I can in Google Hangout. I can't in this.
Oh boy, there needs to be just
one what, Tony?
I don't
Are they kicking in?
They're kicking in.
Are the circles that Michael Tellinger found in Africa, Ubuntu, may be receptors for that energy source, battery, aka pyramids? Fucking Patrick, that's fucking brilliant. Yeah, why not? Resonate those damn things. Crystals totally can be, they can store electricity. They tend to act.
We were talking about that last week.
What?
We were talking about the resonance last week.
Yeah, well, but Patrick just brought up something that you may not that I may not have exposed you to yet, which was, hold on here. Let me see if I can take and get these two things to show up at the same time, because I don't need to see me, but it'd be good to see the chat window. That's way better. Oh shit, that was way worse. Drag that down. Perfect. Okay. Oh, that works really good, actually. What I am going to do is I will take and I will save the resulting video that happens in Google Hangout. I'll filter out all of the alien abduction parts from the feedback loops.
Don't do that.
See, Michael, that time it didn't cause a feedback loop. That's your settings.
You want to know what it was? I'm not too proud to tell you the truth.
Then don't. Not for
two browser windows open, both pointing at this Hangout.
Oh, you fucking
Fucking
knucklehead.
speakers fucking on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that
Jesus.
But listen, before you laugh at me, brothers.
Hey,
see that right there?
I got the same thing going here, Michael, because I got Google Hangout and I got Google Live Chat going. It's just.
But I apparently had the speakers on, and one little click and the speakers went off.
Yeah. But
because I'm a dumbass.
Yeah. Okay. So, Patrick made a comment here of something that I'd never thought of before, Patrick, and that's fucking brilliant. Yeah. I know that I've exposed Michael to Michael Tellinger, but I don't know that he's ever watched him. Tony, have I ever shown you Michael Tellinger? Michael Tellinger is a geologist, author, and yeah, he says he watches way too much Project Camelot. I used to too. They're a good source. There's a lot of really good news sources out there. Michael Tellinger basically has found all of these, what archaeologists are calling cattle coals, but they have no doorways, and they appear to be these collections of stones in circles and various shapes, very much like what you see in somatics. So back to the therofluids and, the Tibetan singing bowls and stuff like this. Could they have been dumping wireless energy? Could those things have been picking it up and acting to resonate it? The interesting thing, though, is I think we would find them in a lot more places if that was the case. But that's a super interesting thought. So, summation, what have we gotten to in the ADD look a squirrel and a pony theater? Out of nothing, the birth creation all the way to modern times, the cyberpunk generation, some of these old ancient technologies that are sitting out there. The Sumerians, their creation myth is fascinating because it talks about DNA. It talks about us being the 10th planet, and it's the first written anything that we find. Now, not 100% correct in saying that. It's not the first written anything. It's the largest collection of everything that we have found to date. A lot of that has to do with the fact that they wrote on clay. Okay. A lot of their stuff was in Great Library of Alexandria. It burned 6 times. So that makes them for some very fired tablets. Every time you burn them, you're not destroying them. But basically, the Sumerian creation myth is the Enuma Elish. It actually covers the epic of the Sumerians, also cover the epic of Gilgamesh, which is the flooding of the world. There's also the forgotten history of Sumer and the Sumerian artifacts. the Lost Book of Enki, which Tablet 1, starts talking about ancient astronauts, the Anunnaki, those from heaven who came down to Earth. So
those pictures that you were showing me of the hieroglyphs, the pictographs that had those look kind of like alien spaceships.
Yeah. Well, and they didn't even know any of that until there was an earthquake at one of the temples and the pieces were falling and they put them together. And now they're actually taking and piecing them together. There's 3 different pharaohs that their whole time here was destroyed. All the statues to them. And I'm going to brain fart and forget all their names. 2 were women. No, two were men and 1 was a woman. Tutankhamun, Nefertiti, and side order of fish. I forget his name. I'm fucking hungry. I got pizza sitting here. But yeah, so the Sumerians.
Pizza shop?
Huh?
Aren't you in a pizzeria?
Yeah.
I thought, duh.
More like dough.
And so.
And of course, you spiked that sauce, right?
No, but we have many times. Oh, yeah.
I'm getting fat just looking at it.
I've definitely gotten fat living here, let me tell you. Oh, Lord. And I can't blame it on Glenn. He's such a good man. So what's the coolest thing about the Sumerian creation myth is they literally talk about things that we still don't even know. We don't know about the 10th planet. We know enough about math now to prove that it's out there. But that's about as far as we can do. We haven't found it. We haven't discovered it. What's also fascinating is the Dogon tribe kind of looked to be a Ethiopian split between the Sumerians in Mesopotamia, where they carried this knowledge back into Africa, and they still exist. So you can sit down and actually talk to people who are still practicing that. It's fascinating. It's the oldest, I guess you call it a religion, huh? It's a religion. They're Coptic Christian or something.
Oldest creation belief, oldest deity.
Well, they're not the oldest creation myth because they do believe something a little different, because in their creation myth, Amma, I think was his name, comes down, spins a clay bowl, makes it a globe, heats it up, and throws it as far as he can. And then he comes and he does it again, and he makes a smaller one, and he doesn't heat it as much, but he heats it like a quarter here and a quarter here and a quarter here, and he throws that out there. And that becomes, and then he takes another big flat piece of clay. All you flat earthers, here it is. Here's your fucking flat earth theory. In Amma takes a piece of clay, makes it flat, throws it as hard as he can, and that turns into the earth. And then he goes out there and he decides it looks like a female body, and he's going to rape it. And a termite wound pops up and he cuts that off, and it goes weird and wild. But they very strongly believe in cannabis was a gift from the gods. Sumerians I haven't found, and I wanted to search for it, but I didn't have time. I truly believe the reason why all of these things happened is the cannabis plant. Period. Without it, you wouldn't have civilization. Without it, you wouldn't have agriculture. But when we saw how useful this plant was, where it could make all of our textiles, a lot of our foods, all of our oils, it was fun, and we loved it the more we played with it. And we really loved it when we burned it. And you know, it's interesting because what's the oldest writing that we find? They write in clay. What do they write with? They write with a reed. What was that reed? It was quite likely a large freaking cannabis stalk that they cut, and because there's places in the Bible where it talks about cut and measure and the length of an official reed being 9 foot. And there's this 369 thing, which goes back into Tesla's stuff. And all of these things keep feeding back. What about the Shroomians? Other people would argue that everything is based on fungi, and we follow the will of plants and fungi, says Patrick. And
I was talking to someone about this yesterday. The fungi.
A little louder.
The fungi. I don't know where the mic is. I don't know where to yell. The fungi on this planet are probably the most intelligent living organisms here. They know how to communicate. What was it? The word cellular communication. The communication between the cell itself is far, far more than anything that our brains can handle right now. They are the smartest living organism, and then they have connections that go farther than themselves, and yet they're not sentient or think. They're really good at hiding it.
Well, I have something quite interesting to add to that then. If you go back and you read in the Bible, when mankind started to explore their linguistic unity, they began building the Tower of Babel. And God saw that and feared what they would be able to do if they continued with this linguistic unity. And so he gave them languages. How could he have given? So that, did they maybe just speak telepathy? So we all had the same tongue from the same mind. But God came down and actually gave us all of these languages and divide and conquer. Now you have someone to go to war with. You're not the same. The Mayan are quite interesting because they actually have a beginning of time and an end of time. And let me pull up another tab here real quick because I have something super relevant on that. And I don't know if everybody has ever looked into the whole aspect of the Mayan pyramid of time. Mayan calendar, Mayan cosmology, Ashana Dane. Let's see. So, no clue what that is in glossolalia. I don't know what that is. I'm going to be curious to find out, Patrick. The charismatic Christians here are doing that stuff here in Germany, too. We are all expressions of individuality from one. Or we're part of a simulation. That's kind of a question. I mean, is this a real reality? Is it a virtual reality? Is it augmented reality? Is it synthetic reality? I mean, I don't believe any of these, truthfully. I think we're in real reality, and we're getting ready. We're watching the birth of these technologies. Virtual reality actually came out a long time ago. There was VR. There was VKR, I think, was the extension for doing virtual reality files. Another fascinating thing is the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast, 666. Is this carbon? 6 electrons, 6 protons, 6 neutrons? Or is it when everybody can read and write? Unix permission, 666. Okay? Means everybody in the user, the group, and everybody else in the world can, for means read, and 2 means write. So you add them together, you sum them, and you get read and write. And I watched this thing last night. I don't know where my phone is, or I would grab it and read it off of there because I took and literally dictated a bunch of it into an email I was going to send to myself and then forgot about me. Enough about me. But it was quite fascinating because it was talking about what did it say the mark of the beast was? It was pretty interesting, and I can't remember it right now. Dagnabbit. Anyway, let's go back to this the Mayan Tower of Babel phenomenon. Right, a 3-year-old playing with a ball. It's praising, talking, singing, all one thing of above. Oh, grand unified theory, I think maybe what you're talking about, Patrick, which is what I covered last week when we tried to do this. The grand unified theory is resonance. When you add resonance, everything fucking changes. Actually, brilliant way, we could have Michael show us that again. No, don't. But that's what happens when resonance happens. Shit goes crazy and shit changes. Yeah, Patrick, I actually have thought about Apple and Android people, and I say that Apple is the phone of the cloven hoof. It is Satan's phone. But
Stop that.
I do say it. So anyway, Mayan calendar. This is fascinating, and I would like us to cover it because they take us back to the beginning of time. This is a little bit long. This was from a guy named Ian Lungold, who actually is from Fresno, which is where I'm from. And it is interesting. He's dead now, but he figured out how the Mayan calendars work together. And there's this whole, basically, there's section 1 through section 13. And each of these 13s are stages. And you can think of them like units of time stacked next to each other. And then you take the 14th unit of time, and when you put that up above, all 13 of your units will fit inside of that. And so time shrinks, time condenses as you go up, but you build out your 13. So your first 7 days of creation is 7 days, 6 nights. Okay. And the reason why that's fascinating is because they're cycles of light or energy bringing up. And then they're cycles of darkness or evil, potentially. And you can map these things out. So, and then there are the different actual sections as they go up in the pyramid. And so you have these universal stages of mammalian, and then families, and then tribal, and then we get into culture, and then nationalism, which is where we are now. We're totally in this stage 5 nationalism. Trump, no, Germany, get the Muslims out. Everything is nationalism right now. This is written into the Mayan calendar. This is the basis of it. And then we get to the planetary. Oh my God, the Space Force. We need a Space Force now. And so we're literally going into this planetary. And then we will get our shit together, maybe, if we don't get ourselves nuked. Okay. And we'll go back to galactic. And then we get to universal, where we can actually practice maybe what we preach without finding somebody to kill like they're a fucking anthill. So the interesting, all of that is, I always thought, quite fascinating. The actual pattern of creation described by the Mayan calendar looks like a pyramid with 9 levels, immensely longer periods of time with shorter and shorter periods stacked on top of each other, or more accurately, as a set of nested vessels, each of them 20 times smaller than the last. Okay? Each of these 9 creation cycles is 20 times shorter than the previous cycle. Each of these cycles is further divided into 13 equal sections of time, and each of these sections has a purpose into creation. There are 7 sections of day, 6 sections of night to each level. The Sumerian and Mesopotamian wrote this same pattern into clay tablets as their understanding of creation. The ancient Vedic texts that are also the basis of Buddhism, Hinduism, Sufism, Taoism, have the same understanding of 9 levels, right? We've heard 9 levels of hell, the 9th circle, the 9th gate, all of this. It's 9 levels, 13 sections of each. Our own Bible states there were 7 days to creation in the book of Genesis. This is the heart of all Judaic and Abrahamic religions. Okay, so section 1, day 1 is a period of light. It's an opportunity for growth of consciousness. It is the inception. It is the planting of the seed, a new beginning or impetus to change or flow in a new direction. New perceptions become available. Okay, section 2, it's a period of night, the opportunity to apply that enlightenment just received from creation's flow. This would be the germination of the seed planted in the dark soil, or in the development of new points of view. Or maybe after death there is only worms. I'm okay with that shit too. I don't think so though. We're fungi. I'm definitely a fungi.
No.
Another period of light, day 3, okay? This is when duality is put onto display in nature. The seed sprouts up out of the ground and it displays 2 leaves. The essential duality is always a new viewpoint that is overriding the old consciousness as it has come down in human history. This has always been a time of civil turmoil, okay? Yes, you have new knowledge, but you have new things going on. It's growth. This causes pain, stresses things. Section 4 is another period of light. Now we see polarization. Factions come to blow over their difference. Indeed, these periods in human history are peaks of violence. Now remember, these things actually all correlate back to real points in time on our calendar. One thing that happens when a new tribe or civilization goes in and conquers somebody is generally they would do 2 things. They would go, they'd find their library, and they'd burn it to the ground. And if they were smart, they were writing on clay, and it didn't go away. So we've lost most of history. But all conquering nations would go in and destroy their libraries, and then they would force them to adopt their calendar. So now they don't even have any ties back to their ancient culture, so we don't even know when the pyramids were built. Okay? It's literally a global reset. Humanity gets amnesia all over again. What the fuck? Who are you? You are not my beautiful. You are not my beautiful wife. How did I get here?
How many times has that happened?
5. We're in the 5th stage. No, not uncountable. They think this has happened. I forget if this is the 5th or the 6th. I think it's happened 5 times, and this is the 6th.
Year cycle.
Excuse me?
Is this that Mayan cycle? I can't remember. Is it 26,000, 13,000, some ungodly number of years?
Yes.
Okay,
hold on. Let me cover that. Okay. Let me get all the way through and do questions kind of after, because this is a little bit long, especially with ponies everywhere. Don't be the squirrel. Another period of light, section 5. Okay. Now, I did say these were points of time. So section 4, we were in the second night of the galactic cycle from December 19th, 2001 to December 14th, 2002. Now, according to them, we're in the galactic time. Now, this is what the Mayans would actually say. I argue that's not correct, because while we see the galaxy, we are not of the galaxy. We're still wondering if we're not the smartest fucking ant on the anthill. We do not get it yet. We don't understand there's termites out there. There's wasps from China that are freaking 19 feet long. Okay, they're only 6 inches, but still, when you see one coming at you 6 inches, it looks like 19 fucking feet of death flying at your face like a fucking dragonfly on meth and steroids, okay? That's got to be some scary ass shit. You got 100 of them coming at you. Jesus. So, back to reality here, or creation. Another period of darkness, section 6. The seedlings of a leaf are dropped from the plant and another set of leaves spring for the top. They're at 90 degrees. So shit changes in human history. And failed systems get jettisoned, usually by force and revolution during this section. Okay? So now remember this. Okay, so section 4 was a dark section. That went from December 19th, 2001 to December 14th, 2002. Okay? That whole section took a year. Section 5 is, hold on to your hats, The Truths Pour Forth from 2002 through 2003. And I could go back and, this is stuff I wrote long time ago. By the way, Tony, this is some of the stuff that was in the encrypted partition on my hard drive in the database. So, needed to stay encrypted for a while. It was in a period of darkness. So, anyway, so 2003 to 2004 was another dark period. Section 7, another period of light. It's a period of expansion. The foundations are laid. Human history, new points of view, ways of doing things takes dominance. Another period of light in plants' life. Now, a lot of this is shit that's going on with Bush at this point in time, I would point out, because we're talking, this is 2005 time frame. Section 8, another period of dark once again. The application of new procedures. During this time, a plant is multiplying its leaves and its root system like mad. In human history, it's usually been a period of rebuilding and a time of healing. Okay, so maybe not for Iraq and Iran. Definitely not much healing going on there. Apparently for us, it was very cathartic to bomb the fucking somebody into almost non-existence. Section 9 is another period of light. In fact, the brightest period of light in the entire cycle. It is a plant's life. It is in a plant's life. This is when new chemicals are produced. They carry the message to form buds. Yay, cannabis. 420. In human history, it was this section when art was invented. The message of Jesus moved over the earth. Einstein discovered the theory of relativity, and America, with the victory of World War I, rose as a world power. Okay. Now let's see. We got a couple things here from Patrick Helmond. Don't know the reference. I know it's Germany. We are not these bodies. We are soul, eternal, blah, blah, blah. No peace there either. Forget all the home office stuff. I'll show you the easier, softer way. Nope. Okay. You mean the Hegelian dialect? That's the first thing that comes to mind. And Hellman's something different. It's a brand of mayonnaise. Section 10, another period of dark. In fact, the darkest period of each cycle is a plant's life. This is the growth of the bud. Your life, it was puberty. In human history, it's been a time of great physical hardship or major conflicts. The Ionian Ice Age, Neanderthals going extinct, Rome falling, World War II are glaring examples of Section 10. Section 11 is again another period of enlightenment. This is the time of flowers for plants. For us, it was our adolescence. In human history, it was the creation of the first of tools, our first attempts at agriculture, which most likely were all around cannabis. Hellman is the problematic providence there. It is a big area. Okay. I'll have to go into that afterwards then. There's the first attempts at agriculture and constructing shelters. It is also the time of the Renaissance, and most recently, the flower children movement of the 60s was another Section 11 in time. Because remember, these are stages. And each time, this happens again, and this happens again, and this. But it's because we're in that section of time. Section 12, the last period of dark cycle, happens now. It is the plant's life, the flowers wilt and die, setting the stage for fruit development or seed pods that will dry. This is what happened to the Mayan civilization right on cue. Throughout human history, there have been conflicts and revolts during this period. The most recent of these have been the Vietnam War. Now remember, we're getting ready to jump. 2012 is where we hit this last, not Section 13 was one of the things in that block of time, and we're going to cover that in a teeny bit. A period of light, once again, a time of readiness of something new and different, a time of ascension, going from one level to the next higher level. The plant spreads the seeds, drops the fruit, begins again 1,000 times over. As above, so below. In human history, it was during these repeating sections that consciousness developed Homo sapiens. So is this when the Anunnaki came down and messed with us, maybe? Because that's actually what the Enuma Elish actually says did happen. Agriculture, domesticated herds. We signed treaties. We established sovereignty of nations and their people. And we put up the internet at a point in time, actually, of planetary consciousness in 1992. This pattern of, actually, it happened way before 1992. ARPANET was 1970 something. I gotta remember what it was. It was already out, but the internet literally now, Windows 95 is going to happen in 3 years. This pattern of creation is an action plan that can happen anywhere in the universe, from subatomic particles to galaxies, over and over. As stated, as above, so below. Notice that we go from light section directly to another light section. Okay? Yeah, he says 70s. It was 74, I think, was when ARPANET came out. I think it's funny because everybody doesn't understand the internet. You are jumping some, not so linear. I know I'm jumping, but remember, the thing is these are layers in a pyramid. They're stacks, they're steps. You jump, you stay on this light, you jump to the next one, you stay on a light, but you're in another generation, okay? The deck is stacked. Creation is on our side, and it always has been. So a period of light, once again, a time of readiness for something new and different, a time of ascension, going from one level to the next higher level. The plant spreads the seeds, and it drops its fruit 1,000 times over in human history. These repeating sections, okay? Oh, I'm repeating myself, actually, huh? Okay? So this pattern does have an acceleration built in it, because each time that block of time becomes 20 times shorter, and all 13 sit inside of this one, okay? It's like the nested dolls kind of thing in some respect. This pattern has acceleration built into it. Each cycle of creation contains the same amount of advancement and change, but each cycle runs 20 times faster. The same amount of change that happened during the first 1.26 billion years of creation, or what we would call the cellular cycle, which was 1.26 billion years, now occurs in 360 days. Actually, it occurs less, because it happens in 9 months in the case of humanity. Okay? But it can be seen, and it's seen on the news. So began length of days. The very first bottom layer of that pyramid of time in the Mayan calendar is 16.4 billion years. Okay? And by 1.26 billion, 16.4 billion years, it's all 13 blocks, but in the first block, cells get created. It takes 1.26 billion years. We're not talking about cells yet, Mike. Not yet. We're just created the first cell. This is literally the beginning of creation in the Mayan cycle. Bang! Or the Big Bang, or whatever you want to think of it, however you want to denote that starting, that first block of time in the Mayan system was 1.26 billion years, and cells just began to be formed. Okay? And that whole cycle happens again 13 times during these 13 cycles, 7 days, 6 nights. At the second, we actually begin to see live births now. Okay? This is 840 million years ago. This is 60. Each block of time now is 63.1 million years. Okay? And we see live births. This is now the mammalian stage. Okay? The first stage was cellular. The next level up on the pyramid is the mammalian stage. The next level above that is 41 million years ago. Each stage is now 3.1 million years in size, and this is the beginning of families. Okay, we don't even have tribes. We're literally just caring for our young until they die. And sometimes we die first and they die because of it. And sometimes we both live. And sometimes you actually get to meet your grandfather. It probably only happens if you rape your sister, though. Or the neighboring tribe. Not recommending rape or EPAR in case somebody gets triggered. Bad. Say no. Just say no. Even back then, just grab a rock and say, "Arr, bam, no." Okay? But this is the beginning of creation, right? So you probably didn't know anybody else but your family. You were scared of everything. You have no tribe. You have no people yet. Okay? So 2 million years ago, we had tribes. Each of these blocks of time was 180,000 years. During this time, we actually see the creation of Homo sapiens and we see tools. Okay? Now, 102,000 years ago, we now are a little more. We start seeing some of the beginnings because we see culture. And each of these blocks is 7,900 years, 102 years total. Okay? And we see literally the creation of agriculture, civilization, and religion. This is where the Mesopotamian or the Sumerian creation myth kind of starts off on tablet 3, I believe. There's 7 tablets that cover there's 8 tablets. There's 7 that cover the whole thing of creation. The first 3, if I recall correctly, talk about the Nibiru and their world and their culture and their civilization. And then they come down here and they make Adamu. That basically would have been this 41 million years ago, 2 million years ago, 102,000 years ago. Now we have agriculture and religion. Then we go up one more level in the pyramid. It's national, 5,116 years ago. So now we're getting to where we actually we start seeing written records. Yeah, Göbekli Tepe. We see Darahangu. Is that how you say it? It's in Turkey. That's the one to me that's the most fascinating. It's a whole underground city. The only other place we see anything like that was in the Vietnam War, up above North Korea and South Korea in the jungles of Vietnam, where they were living underground. But 5,160 years ago, we entered the national, and each of these little blocks of time are now 396 years. And we'll see sovereign nations and laws and all of these things get created. Then we enter the planetary. This is 1,755. We discovered all of the planets, or began to, supposedly. Each year is now 19.7 years. Why is it 1755? Each one's 20. That works out to 200. The math doesn't seem right. I may have to go back and revise my math on this. But this is the birth of the internet and a global economy. New World Order, a lot of this type of things. Galactic, January 4th, 1999. Each cycle is now 360 days. Each block has shrunk. Remember, last cycle, it was 19.7 years. Before that, it was 396 years. Before that, they were 7,900 years in each of these blocks, but they shrink by a factor of 20 each time. Okay? So 2011, 20-day cycles, consciousness co-creation. Something changed in 2011, and literally every 20 days, something went fucking crazier. And I watched it in the news. We all did. We all lived through it. Things got quite interesting in a multitude of ways. Yeah, Patrick actually names I don't know the name of the city either, but he's aware. Basically, everybody hid underground and this, I think, is when Nibiru came back around, because it comes around every 3,600 years, And it is mentioned in the Bible as it's called wormwood. And it's a red planet that comes in and wreaks havoc. And it's a destroyer of nations is some of the ways that it gets worded. Okay. So day one, universal stage. This started February 21st, 2011. First stage of universal is underworld. What? Ends September 2nd, 2011. So we went through the day one, the night one, day two, and it finishes out. So now let me explain where this comes from. Actually, I probably should have done that first. I'm kind of reading this through what I wrote decades ago. This was generated by that Ian Lung guy that is dead. And he basically figured out that there's these two calendars, that a tune calendar, and it's 368 long cycles, not 365. And so at some point they come back and they face back up. And that's what happens every time these things come back around. Time makes a shift because these two gears will line back up. But the gears have a different number of days on them. Peace of mind comes when a person is centered. Centeredness comes from certainty. Certainty comes from a recognition of patterns. And all of this is pattern recognition. That's what reality is. We only can perceive reality because we recognize the patterns. So there's a stability or a peace of mind related to your degree of certainty. This is why this synthetic reality, people are going to lose their fucking minds, in all honesty. I for one, I'm ready. Because I lost mine a long time ago. But blind faith, in my opinion, is certainly not an obstruction to any facts that may undercut the faith, thus creating a limit to one's true peace of mind. This, in turn, is the generator of all types of defensive measures, including wars to protect one's personal faith in how things ought to be. Now, by the way, this is the stuff that Terry was all going to cover. And if it wasn't for the fact I kind of studied this a long time ago, we would not have anything. Tony is going to do the... Is Tony going to want to do the his one? Tony is zoning in the best of ways right now. He's on mushrooms. He's a fun guy. So first day of national.
I think I can.
You think you can? Okay, good deal. All right. So I would like to show the evolution of religious thought as a further demonstration of the schedule. This is something that all religious scholars can agree on, no matter what their denomination or personal agenda. Now, mind you, this is stuff I wrote a decade ago. I don't know how much I still agree with it. And even when I was writing it, I didn't completely agree with it. It was where research was leading me. As previously stated, the light section or days of the creation cycle are periods of enlightenment when new perceptions are gained by consciousness. So it is the evolution of our concept of God and our relation to him day by day, which is interesting based off of the way Terry described her past lives regression, which I want to cover real quick because this is why it makes sense. Our friend Terry basically did a past life regression, and she explained it like they pulled her life out in a thread, and she could move along that thread to another point and see things that had happened. Now, this wasn't one of her ayahuasca experiences, was it? Do you remember, Tony?
Yeah.
It was? Okay.
It was on ayahuasca.
Yeah, so, and I hope I'm right. She's not here, so she can tell me I'm wrong later. Yeah, quantum leap in a nutshell. She said it was very disorienting. She would not do it again, but she highly recommended everybody try it. She found it very difficult because she's also a medium. She has some psychic abilities. She's a super cool lady. I'm really bummed she's not here. I really want to take and share her. She's such a wealth of information. But her way of describing this, coming along this thread and how this cycle makes sense. This is the evolution of our concept of God and our relation to him day by day on this chain, we have increased our understanding and altered our approach towards God. If we go backwards, and I don't have a whole lot more on this. So what we'll do is we'll cover just the national cycle, okay? So remember, I said that all of these steps get recreated, okay? So every time we go up to a block of time, we'll be able to take in point and say, and this was this point in time in the national cycle, or this was this point in time in the cellular cycle, okay? So let's cover just the first day on the national cycle. I just described that completely backwards. National cycle is the one platform of time. This was from 3,115 BC to 17,021 BC. It was at this time the Sumerians worshipped An, or Anu. Anu was seen as an omnipotent creator god who had to share his space with a host of household, workplace, weather, and nature gods of all kinds. Anu probably wasn't made happy during this time. The second day of the national cycle was from 2326 BC to 1938 BC. During this section, Abraham moved to Cana in 2300 BC. Okay? The third day of the national cycle was from 1538 BC to 1144 BC. This was the time of Moses and the beginning of monotheism. The truth coming into sharper focus is the way somebody describes it. It's the widowing down of gods, if you will. Now, remember, we're not covering the nights. These are just the days, okay? So we're missing blocks of time in there, and crazy shit happened during those blocks of time, too. But we can literally point to the things to say, look, this is a period of growth. From 1749 BC to 3055 BC, Isaiah was born in 748 BC. Buddha, 552 BC. Confucius, 551 BC. Zoroaster, 550 BC. Pythagoras, 550 BC. Deutero and Isaiah, 550 BC. So that's a lot. How would that change work? I wonder, Polly Tomono. That change would probably work badly. And that's why all religions start out as cults, because they're not accepted. Patrick makes an interesting statement there, saying one day you believe God's walk amongst you, fight with you. Next day, you start believing in a God that is non-physical. Yeah. But he's a peeping Tom, apparently, and he thinks you're an HBO channel.
Well, that would kind of explain hallucinogenics, the acacia wood.
How?
One day you think that he's real, and the next day you think he's not corporal, he's ethereal.
Yeah, but you'd need the wood to think that. You got to hold your laptop a little closer when you talk, because I barely hear you. I don't know that they do. All right, so the fifth day of the national cycle was from 40 AD to 434 AD. During this period, Paul took the message of Jesus to the world, and Christianity was born. Buddhism started in China in 60 AD. The Talmudic and Judaic religions began at this time, not to mention Quetzalcoatl, the Mayan creator who appeared, I got a run-on sentence in the literal sense, who appeared to them in Teotihuacan as a Christ-like personage with a very similar message in 40 AD. Okay? So now I'll actually cover the first of the night cycles. Not the first, just the first one. I've documented some stuff. From 434 AD to 829 AD was dark religion. I'm not saying that it is, but it did occur during a cycle of night. Okay, the sixth day of the national cycle was from 829 AD to 1223. Excuse me, 1223 AD. At this time was a general expansion of Christianity to the northern and eastern Europe. The Crusades, the development of the papacy happened here, as well as Second Quetzalcoatl in the Mayan Tolkien city of Chichen Itza, and he was walking the earth at that time. Oh, great. What did it just do? Come on, fucker. Why did it do that? That was weird. The sixth night of creation is the second wave of Islam, 1223 AD to 1617 AD. The seventh day of the national cycle, it was from 1617 AD to 2011 AD. During this period, Christianity expanded once again, starting with the Pilgrims in 1620 AD, and we could go through the discovery of scientific principles of communication methods, development of political ideas, or the creation of America. There is no mistake. There is no 16,000.4 billion year long coincidence. Once is interesting, twice is a pattern, and three times is no coincidence. And there's 9 different levels here. So here's your 9 levels of creation. Your 9 is a number that keeps occurring all over the place. And it still does, and it always will. Because it's one of the divine numbers in some respect. Look at what happens with Matt. Take any number, multiply it, and its result adds up to 9 when you add it up. I am too patterned for this presentation. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but we're going to have to talk because I would love to hear it. This is not, remember, what we're doing is we're supposed to be talking about all of the different types of creation myths. All I'm doing is really covering one of the creation myths. It just happens to be the one that somebody else was supposed to cover, and the only thing I have on it is stupidly in depth, so I don't have anything else to go on. The Sumerian one I know pretty well. They tell us that, we were modeled after them. They took the local monkeys or Neanderthal man and mucked with his DNA to take Homo erectus and turn us into Homo sapien. And, oh, wow, that was weird. I thought that was my phone going nuts. So we have 2 other those are the ones I was supposed to cover. Actually, that's the ones I and Terry was supposed to cover. And she was also going to cover Japanese and in one of the Indian, the Hopi ones. So, Tony, why don't you start us off with Abrahamic? And you got to be loud.
Oh. I might.
He's trying to find a mic.
No idea where my mics are. So
yeah, just
gonna have to scream. Everybody can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I want to start with the Abrahamic. After that, I'm going to go into the Hindu, how it kind of ties in. I have a Christian background, so my own beliefs give this a little bit of a bias, but at the same time, I like to come at it with a little bit of a logical look. So, Christian and the Judaic are basically, the creation story is basically the same. God, out of mud, water, created Adam. Adam means human, and it took 7 days. On the 6th day, he was created. I don't think there's so many places to start. first, in the Quran, it says that when the angel came to, translated from Arabic, when the angel came to its destination, it would be in 50,000 years. So in the Judaic, Christian, and Abrahamic religion creation myth, it said 7 days. I don't think that anything, I'm not going to say that God couldn't create it in 7 days, but I think it took 50,000 years. I think it's 50,000 years each day, especially because that was before there was sun and moon and earth. There was no perception of time. So the earth, how was the earth created? The earth was, there was a land, and then there was parting of the seas. And kind of the Bible and the Torah, they kind of speak of it kind of in an embellished way. They try to make it very, very visual.
Not to intrude, but the Bible is the Torah.
Yes, yes. But they are, but they aren't. The way that Christians look at the Bible is not the same way that the Jews look at the Bible. They're completely different. And it's sort of the same way that Muslims look at the Bible as a text, as a sacred text, but not necessarily. It's funny talking to some Muslims. They don't quite see it as a truth, but they can't deny it as a lie. It's kind of right in the middle. So, first, sorry if I'm a little all over the place.
Because you dropped mushrooms before you did this. What were you thinking?
Well, everybody else was, and I was thinking, what better way to talk about the beginnings of the earth?
Okay.
Than trying to get back to the elements.
Post-draconian surgery.
So if you look at the world in 50,000 years, as in 50,000 increments, out of 7 days is 350,000 total years, how the earth was created. One, I kind of start from where
Tony, did you make any notes?
I did, but
what?
I can't open them on my tablet.
You didn't think that one through, did you?
No, I didn't.
You don't need to see us to read your notes.
But I wouldn't be able to talk.
Why? You just have your tablet yelling at you every once in a while.
I'm just going to go for my phone.
Okay. Later, Patrick. I don't know what time it is in Germany. I know it's late night, so or early morning. Guten Abend, yeah. You're not going to be able.
I'm not sure if I can connect all the dots right now.
Okay, let me cover it then. So, the Abrahamic basically is the whole story of Genesis, 7 days of creation. We're actually kind of all familiar with it. I think the things that are the most interesting out of the Judaic side, and actually out of all of these things, I'll be honest in saying that I think the one thing that once is interesting, twice is a pattern, and 3 times isn't a coincidence. And that being said, cannabis has left a mark fucking everywhere. I think it's once America, if Trump wants to make America great, legalize fucking cannabis 100% across the board, and let's go after a cannabis hemp economy, and we really will make this country great. Period. Okay, we're just that freaking close. If he does do that, he will forever be known as the world's greatest president. Nobody is going to be able to take and upstage that shit. Period. He could do it on his way out. He'd be remembered forever. The left is gotta come unglued, and the left has to be scared that he might actually do this. Okay, but the whole Judaic thing, literally, cannabis is what has made civilization. It's the center part of religion, ethnogenic drugs, all are. I mean, they weren't making the equivalent of MDA or MDMA back then. But what was Soma? We don't know. Fuck, it could have been better than MDMA. Okay, really could have. So the 50,000 plus products that we could make out of doing something out of cannabis, and then finding these common threads throughout, it looks like every religion. It's got to tell you. I mean, it's all over in the Egyptian sculptures. It's all over the place. It rears its head every time you turn around. I do not know any of the Hopi religion, so I can't say that we see it there. We do see it in Hindu. We totally see it in Egyptian. We see it in Abrahamic. I can't say that I am aware of it anywhere in the Mayan, but I don't know that much about the Mayan. We totally see it in the Sumerian. I think it's celebrating the plant might be why we're created. How's that for a consciousness expanding concept? Maybe that's God. Tony, you got yourself mic'd, muted, so you know.
Sorry.
It's okay. We couldn't hear you thinking anyway. No, but I saw it, and if you were going to start talking and if you're zoning out, then I know that could make it just that much more fun. Just kind of like, what the fuck? Fucking my screen's melting too. Jesus, where's the button for that? Yeah, Michael is saying Jews authored that Torah, lived on it for a long while. Satatu Gartma, Shamayuni lived on a hemp seed a day for a long while. Spoiler alert, wasn't hemp and it wasn't a seed, it was a bud. I believe that. Well, it's also where the Rastafarian religion, which rolled out of the Dagu religion, and the Dagu basically believe cannabis is another way to point to the dog star, because it's the 2-star planet or 2-star civilization. The dog stars, 2 stars, and cannabis, bis or bi means 2. Canna is reference to canine or to cannabis. So, Michael, you can unmute yourself and say those if you want to say them instead of me reading them for you.
I got to tell you, I just want to respect the room, because I got to tell you, I haven't heard one syllable come out of anybody's mouth that made me think, what's on TV? I'm not being funny. I'm telling you guys that I fucking love this, because the bottom line is I got no argument with the Torah, with the Quran, with the Rastafarians. I don't hate any of them. I don't have any dog in any hunt. The only thing I say that I will never back out of, when my God created all of this, This is exactly how he did it. He spake it. I don't know what the hell he said, but he spake it into existence. But in that nanosecond, everything you, I, and anybody we ever meet says that was a coincidence. What were we taught coincidences are? If you're Christian, maybe. God preferring to remain anonymous. Every one of those dominoes had to be lined up in that nanosecond 14.73 billion years ago. So when he spake it into existence, he balanced all of those dominoes for all time. The Anunnaki made humans, fine, still God's plan. I can't say it.
Göbekli Tepe.
Fucked it up, but anyway. Whatever, whenever, nothing's outside his plan. People looked at me like I was a monster when I would say the things I felt about my ex-wife, wishing I had never met her. Oh my God, but then you wouldn't have your sons. Well, your impression of God's power is about that big. Anyway, hate don't have any place in this conversation. And I don't hate that woman today. But all of these things I'm telling you that I've learned through Tim and other sources, nothing has shaken me off of one concept. Maybe it's because I was 8 or 6 or however old when I first heard it in church. But I don't have any dog in this hunt. Any preacher that's ever spoken to me is giving me, I believe, his interpretation. Anyway, I don't know where that came from, but I dug what you were saying. I always dig what Timmy's saying, except when he's saying, shut up, Michael, I've got to go do this or that. Anyway, this stuff is real. I don't get the concentric circles. That's where that time travel comment came from, because it sounded to me like we were laying timelines on top of each other. Not in a bad way, but just in the way it is.
You're talking about when she did talked about the past, her expression of past life regression?
I'm listening.
Is that what you're talking to?
And you led it up to World War I, our victory in World War I. And I was thinking, well, wait a minute. Just a minute ago, we were at we were further back in time. And I didn't know if these were repeating cycles or if they, like I said, laid on top of each other.
Look at it this way. You got 13 bricks. Okay?
Okay. All right. Are you going this way then?
I'm going horizontal like a bricklayer.
Okay.
Okay.
So, all right. And then you're saying the pattern is going down touch.
And then you lay those 13 bricks down like a base, one next to each other. First one's a white brick. Next one's a dark brick. Next one's a white brick. Next one's a dark brick. And it ends with a white brick. Okay?
Okay.
Now you take one of those bricks. Hold on a second here. That becomes that. So you take one of those bricks, you break it into 13 pieces, and you stack it on top. So what was one block on the base now becomes one layer above that, but they're 20 times smaller because that one brick, again, is cut into 13 pieces. Okay?
Okay.
So now you got 13 white pieces because you started with a white brick. Okay?
Right.
Half of them automatically in the middle are going to turn dark to represent the cycles of time. But what the first brick was, hold on one second. The first brick was 1.26 billion years. All of them together, tail to tail, or end to end, was 16.4 billion years. But you take that last white brick that's 1.26 billion years, you move it up a level, you make a copy of it, you move it up a level, okay? And now you cut it into 13 pieces to represent the 7 days and nights. Each time is accelerating by a factor of 20. So the very beginning of creation took forever. Because you're waiting for molecules to get friendly. Everything's happening on the cellular level. We don't have anybody walking.
I want 30 seconds and I'm going to shut up. The hope that I have listening to you guys, I love it. I just explained this to my cousin a few hours ago. He said something, he's not an atheist, he's not agnostic, he's just tired. And he said something, and I repeated to him this story that my son gave me, I think 6 years ago. Comes in my office. He's carrying a dead leaf. He says, Dad, we can talk about this leaf, but only for a little while. But we can talk about the idea of a leaf forever. Didn't blow my mind. I just thought it was interesting. He toodles away, and as he comes back by my office, I drew him in. Get in here. Tell me about this forever thing. Where'd you learn about forever? And he said, Daddy, forever is easy. When God got up this morning, that was forever ago. When God goes to bed tonight, that's forever from now. As an alcoholic in recovery, the very first thing I did was say, would you be my sponsor? But you guys are touching on this. You're making me think of that kind of stuff. And you know what? As you talk about the math, I'm 53. I've said for 40 plus years, all of this is math. All of it.
Yeah. Well, it's the only language that doesn't fail. Unless there was
you're a theoretical fucker.
Unless there was a psychic one first. And that's the big question. I've never heard, I've heard people talk about it, but I've never heard all these kind of crazy things put together. I don't really subscribe to the concept of the Mayan calendar, but you can point at it and actually say, well, at least the math works. They got all of that right. The thing is like, it wasn't the end of the world on 2012. And that's kind of where I kind of pick it back up and say, you might want to rethink, you might need to rethink what your concept of creation is. So that's why I thought it kind of interesting to bring all of these other concepts of creation in, put one that has this long timeline that fits what we see in science as a
guys have made me
framework.
Think all night about this thing of what is it they say? If you forget where you come from, you're doomed to repeat the process. If you don't learn the lesson, Buddhists say that all the time.
They say if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Yeah, and if you don't learn the lesson will continue.
Well, I like the other one better. Beatings will continue until morale improves.
The one I don't like seems to match my life. Life will make you into what you're supposed to be, whether you are willing or unwilling.
Interesting. Okay. So, Judaic totally covered. Indian, do you want to take a stab on that one? The Hindu? Because I don't know it at all, Tony. You're on your own on that one.
So, the Hindu it made me really open up to where their views on it are so expansive and so open-minded.
Yeah.
That what is that noise? It gets basic. Okay, so there's three creation gods. There's Brahma, the creator, and he's there's this Trinity. There's a Trinity in Christianity: the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And there's the same in Hindu. This Trinity. Brahma is the creator and the source of all creation. Vishnu is the preserver, so he's the one that is in charge of this world and keeping the day-to-day things happening. Gravity,
Ram and Krishna,
and just everything has.
Oh crap!
Brahma set things off. Vishnu is keeping them going, and then Shiva is the destroyer, and it's needed to destroy, to end things. But all three of those gods came from Brahman. Brahman is the sound of creation. It's the essence that everything comes from.
I heard Vermont for a second there. Freaked me out.
Yeah, they make really good cheese.
Keep going. Sorry.
Vermont. So the idea of Vermont has made me kind of second guess my thoughts on religion and my beliefs on where the universe started, because Vermont is it goes beyond what the concept of a god is in Hindu religion, but in Christianity it kind of I put the name to God on it. Brahman, it's like the goo, that primordial ooze that was there before anything else. It existed before the Big Bang. It caused the Big Bang. It was just this ooze. Some people may call it dark matter. Some people call it just Brahman.
How about black goo?
Sure, we could call it that too. The creation story of the Hindu creation story is they make a collection of books called the epics, and it really is an epic, like the Greek mythology and like so many other mythologies. It's a story. The universe story, but the Chandogya Upanishad is the creation. It said that the universe started as a breaking of an egg, as potential energy is stored on the inside, and the shell is protecting that potential energy. And then when the egg breaks, everything just spills out, and you don't see the shell anymore. You just see the insides all puking out. The only thing that is difficult for me to comprehend is the connection between Brahman as a ethereal substance and a corporeal substance. So, like when you talk about quantum mechanics and the force between atoms,
right? Strong force, weak force.
Yeah. So some of those. What started those forces? The whole universe is like calibrated very, very, very specific. The amount of gravity that we feel on Earth is directly affected by how we spin, which is directly affected by how we first spin. When the planet was first created as a celestial body, that first spin, and then we're slowly slowing down, but that rate of deceleration is so important on how much gravity that we're actually feeling, and all the strong force and weak force of all the atoms that are in that whole body as a planet, how all those mechanisms work together. It's bigger than my concept of God, because my concept of God is a all-knowing being, and the concept of Brahman is it's like a cosmic web. It's almost like it kind of ties everything together, and it's made me really open-minded, because it can explain everything, but it can't prove anything, but it can explain the origins of a lot of things. I don't know how to explain it. The Hindu religion, though, it's about being open, and it's an interesting read.
Okay.
So like that.
All right. Hold on. Let me pull up the other thing here that we had. One there. So that covers all. Well, that's enough to say we covered them. I mean, the Mayan one got covered extensively deep, but that's the one that I think is most interesting in one respect, because there's your 7 days of creation. And it's just like, guess what? It's still 7 days. At every day, it created another level of consciousness. And you can think of those.
What's the day?
The length of the day?
Yeah.
It accelerates. The day, as time goes on, accelerates. Just like the universe is accelerating, time is accelerating. So, I mean, that's what, man, why are we here? To create consciousness. Otherwise, we don't got much for a fucking redeeming value. We literally try to fucking keep ourselves rich off of killing people and doing horrific things in the universe. And somehow some people are so fucking good at that they're all the ones that are left in control. And everybody else is just stuck going, well, I don't know what to do. And kick a box of rocks, man. The fuck? I mean, freaking, we should go back to throwing rocks. But at the same time, here we are, and we're creating new technologies. And that was what God feared to begin with. That's why he gave us multiple languages. We have only one that is common, which is math. And the more we dig in math, the deeper down the rabbit hole we go. And we are slowly figuring everything out. We very shortly will have our fingers on the levers on the engines of creation. And when we take and we actually start making things like assemblers and universal disassemblers, and then we have all the ability to take and make the black goo and gray goo and silver goo and camouflage goo, and they have all these different goo scenarios. I think there's a pink goo that sounds about as gay as you can get, I guess. I don't know.
Which goo can get me a cheeseburger?
Yeah, that'd be the Grubhub goo.
There you go.
Yeah. That would be kind of funny, actually, to submit a fucking order downstairs through Grubhub, because I can't call on my phone. They know who it is every time. And me and Tony have done that multiple times, because we'll call from like Max's phone or your phone, but they know mine, so she just answers, Timmy, Timmy, Timmy. I'm like, oh God, Candy. But yeah, we could send it in through Grubhub and they wouldn't have any idea, or send it through Menufy. That'd be funny. Anyway, I'm not going to do that. Just strange thinking. So I'm curious how much Michael knows about cyberpunk.
Not near enough.
Have you read much?
I'm not even sure that I've got the topic in my head. I mean, I scan, but it's...
Okay, well, allow me to school you. Tony kind of knows this, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about it. So cyberpunk, basically, and that's what my supposition here is that that's what 2012 was the creation of the cyberpunk generation. So anybody born in 2012, there is nothing internet prior. What do you mean 5 channels? I've always had Facebook. I mean, their comprehension of reality, whether it's a real reality, a virtual reality, an augmented reality, or a synthetic reality, already has a core fundamental framework centered around technology, centered around advanced technology. We're not talking dude, he had sticks. You should have seen it. I didn't know what I was dealing with. Next thing, fuck, he picked up a rock. I've never felt anything like that. Now, we're talking about real, legitimate, crazy, insane technologies. I don't know if anybody saw the Disney one. Nobody saw this? I have to show this. This is something that has to be seen. Hold on. I'm going to do a screen share here. First, I got to click out of this screen, and I'm going to show you the craziest thing you've seen. Disney. So everybody's seen the Boston Scientific thing, right? Yeah, the fucking thing you don't want chasing you in the middle of the night. The super predator fucking military robot stuff.
Okay, yeah.
All right, cool. Check this out. Hold on. Let me find. Jesus Christ, you would think fucking YouTube would come up as the top one. It didn't. Okay, hold on. Come on. It wouldn't pause. You didn't see any of that, right?
No.
Nope. Okay, hold on. I'm not done. Okay, so now we go to screen share. Share screen. Whoops, no, clicked on the wrong thing there. Application window. Your entire screen. Okay, so this is going to take me a second to get clicked over to the right tab. Okay, you should see my screen. And now you should see me looking at myself, right?
Yep.
Where is the fucking frame? Go to it. Close my one. Oh, it changed it is what it did. Hold on. You see that? Look at the head. How you like that?
I don't even know what to say about that.
Lucasfilm has been doing that for decades.
Yeah, but this shit can chase you. Lucas did it on a green screen and superimposed shit.
That wasn't a green screen?
No. That's a fucking robot, dude. That's a robot.
That's a GoBot.
Oh, yeah, giddy up and fucking go. That's enough to scare the fuck out of me. All right, so let me stop my screen sharing there. I saw that. I found that about 3 days ago, I think. I saw that and I was like, oh. But see, this goes exactly what I'm talking about. People don't understand the pace of technology. Having worked in research and development, I can tell you, for most things, if you have a base to build from, you can always stand on the shoulder of giants. And so and especially with a lot of what they call COTS engineering, common off the shelf, we're parts. We're a collection of parts. You get down to it, you're about $82 worth of fucking chemicals in your human body. However, if you happen to be a 5-year-old girl who just died, your lungs and your heart are worth probably $200,000. Okay? But we are literally just a collection of parts. And so was that thing you just saw on the screen. A little more than $82. Probably closer to that $250,000 plus, about 25 people back there. It had a tether. No, it didn't have a tether, did it? Holy fuck.
No tether.
That had no fucking tether.
Yeah.
So it's completely, well, as soon as you tap an AI onto that, okay, now you're getting into synthetic realities. So cyberpunk, that's all of this shit. Okay? Cyberpunk is a genre of science fiction originally that talked about things like, I remember...
It's not science fiction anymore.
It's not, yeah, that's the point. There is no science fiction anymore. I mean, when you get down to it, I can describe exactly how we have the fundamental... We're about 5 years to 15 years away from having a functional holodeck. Now, there's this concept of UFOs and technology that we think we understand the state of the art. I'm, pretty solid on the fact I understand the state of the art as it's been released to the public. But in terms of what is unknown and what could we do, oh, fuck us. That's another fucking story. If you add 60 years onto what I think we could do, we got people walking around right now that are synthetic and not real at all, and you can't tell them apart. Literally, like the Battlestar Galactica. By the way, I know that I think Michael and I talked about Battlestar Galactica a teeny bit, but there was supposedly a planet that Battlestar Galactica really kind of started from. Castadia something. I gotta look this one up because there was a movie that they did. Because it was fascinating. It was a great fucking... But it showed the birth of the Cylons. So this literally would be, do we have to fear something like that? I really, depends on who programs these motherfuckers. If they just give it, lots of love and WD-40, probably not. But if they fucking have it raised by the fucking military-industrial complex, they gave us things like MK Ultra and fucking scopolamine and all kinds of fucked up scary ass shit. But there is a movie that is called fuck, what was it called? Cobalt. No, Caprica. That was it. Was amazing. You get a chance to watch it, go watch Caprica. It used to be on Netflix a long time ago. Haven't seen it in a long time, but it is pretty much like where Battlestar Galactica, how it came about. Literally one guy trying to save his daughter who died, and he, first stuck her in a robot brain and then got her in a synthetic body. And if Roswell truly happened and the underground labs and the deep underground military bases and the $53 trillion that is missing from the economy that the secret government has stolen away through HUD and the DOD, hey, we probably already got this shit. it's probably already there. Probably already there. We probably already have programmable matter. Programmable matter gives you pretty much the holodeck. It gives you the food replicator. So the sad thing is if these things are locked up deep inside military, the only person it's feeding is some fat cat fucking politician, and those that are privileged enough to know that they only make humanity suffer because they can profit from it.
Yep.
So, but the point of all of that is in the cyberpunk generation, the people rise out of that shit, and the military is not so much in control. And we are watching that shit happen right now. You're going to see the most insane computer technology. You're going to see hacks happen every day before lunch. Technology is going to get buckled and stressed and face fucked and everything. But just like the 7 days of creation in the Mayan calendar, there are more days during 7 days than there are nights by one. And so we still come out ahead as long as the military doesn't kill us off first. And they have stated via the Georgia Guidestones that we bred too fast. We are like rats, and they only want to deal with 500 million of us because they know that they can totally control. Of course, they don't plan a single fucking one of them dying, but they don't mind that literally 7 out of 10 should for them. That's those are not our gods. Those are not any.
They're just an extension of the Rockefeller plan.
Yeah, pretty much. Them in control and us dangling on the line, doing all the work and everything else. So I think that the more people that actually are aware of things like Venus Project, Ubuntu Project, both the Linux and the Michael Tellinger one, which is what Patrick brought up before, and I kind of explained it. Tony, remember me showing you that big, huge footprint one time, long time ago? And I probably showed it to Michael too. No? He is a dude that lives in South Africa. He was running for president. He has lawsuits against the central bank, the equivalent of the Federal Reserve System there, that I don't know what the final disposition ever has been, but he's trying to shut down he's suing them. He's making them admit that, and he has a piece of property that he's bought, and he put money down, and he's got the money to pay the thing off, but he wants to contest the fact that they can own it, that they can take something for it because they never created anything. And so he's suing them on that basis, and he's using a piece of property as the chattel, I guess you would say, in the center, as a tug of war or a child in a divorce court kind of thing. And trying to say that you're a foreign corporation, you type numbers in and automatically they are created, and that is not a right that you have. You cannot repossess something. The money that I put in towards that, I truly actually earned. What you did nothing. You have no equity in said property. And so he's suing them on the basis of that. But he has found all of these shapes, and we're talking millions of them all over South Africa. And they're made from a type of stone that rings like a bell. Shall we do another show and tell?
I'm waiting.
Yeah, let me try to figure out what I have. One screen blocking the other, it appears. Okay. Well, not pulling the search result I was hoping. Let's see. But basically, what he has is very unique area that he lives in, and there are all of these. God, can I find all of his things are so long? Bones found in this mine. Yeah, see, like all his videos, they're like 60 minutes, 50 minutes. Here we go. 3 minutes.
You need new glasses.
No, I don't. I like the glasses I have. Thank you very much. All right, let me come over here. And then I'm going to come back and go share screen. Share. Take this.
So why not have them delivered to your doorstep? At GlassesUSA.com.
Around 150 kilometers west of Port Maputo, South Africa, the remains of a huge
See all
metropolis
those shapes?
an ancient site measuring an astonishing 1,500 square kilometers in size, suspected by some to in fact once have been part of an even larger civilization,
all
estimated by some to have been
the
around
ground.
10,000 square
You
kilometers
can't
in
tell.
size, and constructed 160,000 to 200,000 years ago. The region is somewhat remote, and the stone circle remnants were only ever encountered by local farmers who assumed they were made by some indigenous people within the past. Amazingly, or rather conveniently, modern archaeology has seemingly forgotten to investigate this amazing place. Fortunately, this all changed when researcher and author Michael Tellinger, in association with Johann Heine, a local fireman and pilot who had actually been looking at these ancient ruins for years, decided to investigate. Heine had the unique opportunity to see these incredible structures from the air and knew that their significance was undoubtedly not appreciated. Quote, "When Johann first introduced me to the ancient stone ruins of southern Africa, he had no idea of the incredible discoveries we would make in the following years. The photographs, artifacts, and evidence we accumulated all point towards a lost civilization that precede all others, not for a few hundred years or a few thousand, but many thousands of years." End quote. According to Tellinger, these discoveries are so incredible that they will require a complete paradigm shift in how we view our human history. Quote, "I see myself as someone quite open-minded, but I admit it took me over a year to figure it out, and I realized that we are actually dealing with the oldest structures ever built by man on Earth. We have been taught that no ancient civilization of significance ever existed within South Africa. Powerful civilizations all emerged in Sumeria and Egypt and other places," Michael Tellinger stated. Regardless of what certain individuals claim regarding the age and indeed size of this site, it is certainly of historical significance, going against all currently upheld understandings of the timelines regarding ancient civilizations within South Africa. As Dan Eden from ViewZone put it, quote, "I would suggest that the Sumerian story was given as a base metaphor for actual ancient cataclysms that caused the diminished planetary resonance and a spiritual injury to the psychoacoustic field of human consciousness." He continued, "The tablets of Sumer describe the Anunnaki as a race of extraterrestrial beings who enslaved humanity for the purpose of exploiting our gold for protective use in the atmosphere of their home planet. I understand the Sumerian mythology as a metaphor for the cataclysmic changes that occurred in the deep human past, which offset the psychoacoustic balance of human consciousness." End quote.
Wow.
So the question whoops. So the question from before was, could those have basically been the capacitor or the battery for this wireless energy system that may have been planet-wide?
Planet-wide.
We find pyramids on every continent. It even looks like we find them on Antarctica. So
Yeah.
think about that. I don't think we were. I think I said it when I was first trying to set up the live stream, but I may have said it when we were talking together. In about 1985, I got out of college, and somewhere towards the very end, the end of it was kind of horrible because I was taking like 24 units. And so when I finally got out, I was like, breath of fresh air. Wait, give me books. But now I didn't have to read something because I was told to. I could read kind of what I wanted to read. And so I used to, you'd lose me for a day. I'd go into Barnes and Nobles in the mall, me and my cousin, and he'd have to drag me out every time. I would just go dig. I love to read. I don't do as much of it anymore. I do a lot more video, but we didn't have that then. So I grew up reading a lot of books, and at one point I found one that was titled something like How the Pyramids Were Built, How to Build UFOs, and there was some third thing, but at UFOs they had me. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm buying this fucking book. Let's build a goddamn UFO. And it talked about if you've ever watched any of the videos up on YouTube, I cannot remember the guy's name, but he was an artist that did renderings for NASA and the Air Force and a lot of conceptual airplanes and a lot of stuff. And he's done drawing for mechanical science. Is that the old? No, Popular Mechanics and stuff like this. He's a very famous artist, and he did these renderings way back when with somebody else based off of what the other person had said that they had seen. And they had seen a UFO at a military base. They went with somebody, and when they went there, somehow he got in. He shouldn't have, but they gave this guy, they let him see 3 UFOs, I believe. And they literally walked up and pulled a plate off the side, and you could see down underneath and explain all of the mechanics of kind of, I don't know how well they explained it. I'd have to go back and find it, but the book actually didn't cover all of that story. All it showed was the drawings and explained kind of how it worked. Didn't understand that this was seen at a military base or anything, but there was architectural drawings with the little legend over on the top corner and stuff like that in it. And I was quite fascinated. And the way that they built the pyramids, they actually did not have quite correct, but I could still see it working, and I can see it actually working for how they moved the water instead. To be able, Michael, I did expose you to the one on how the pyramids were built, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So
I just sent you a little text about it.
Huh?
I just sent you a little text about it on the chat for this.
Oh.
Why would aliens help the Egyptians build that ginormous battery on the Giza Plateau? So when they come by in their alien Tesla and need a recharge, stop by, get a little recharge, keep on going.
Yeah. I don't think that their ships use plasma, I would believe.
I was just being open to it.
I know. Electricity doesn't have the energy density. You need something like a plasma, but we're getting very close to that.
We don't know what that pyramid did when it was working.
Yeah, we do.
Oh.
Yeah, I do. I believe I do.
Maybe when the right crystal was in the right spot.
Yeah,
Just saying.
when you took and you had the Ark of the Covenant sitting inside of that thing, inside of the big room where it has what they think is a cast of the sarcophagi, you drop that thing in there, and the lid is back on that thing. That thing is going to be a maser. You know what a maser is?
No, I don't.
Well, you know what a laser is, right?
I do.
Lasers, light amplified simulated emissions of radiation. A maser is microwave amplified simulations of radiation. So this thing would have beamed out some fucktard insane amount of energy.
Well, my head is too fucked up from 30 years of Star Trek, where the deflector dish can do everything.
Yeah, well, we actually have some force field stuff. I've read some stuff recently. What was the other thing I just saw? I saw it in my sleep, kind of thing. I leave my TV on at night and put it on random crazy fucking YouTube channels, and every once in a while they'll wake me up. Really fucks with my head if it automatically changes to Alex Jones. It's not how anybody should be woken up. It's just that destroys good sleep like nobody's business. But it was quite interesting. I'm trying to remember if this was about camouflage, like the cloak of invisibility type of thing. I think it was. But all of these things are quite possible. In 15 years, all these things are possible. The problem with this is the military not already, put it this way, if your computer got broken into and you had to choose from the little kid in Lithuania, the NSA, the CIA, or the FBI, or Russia, who would you think broke into your computer?
NSA.
Tony?
I'd say Russia, just because Russia.
Russia doesn't give a shit, really.
Yeah.
If Putin can walk around shirtless, he's happy.
Yeah. Russia don't give a shit about you.
NSA has an intelligent face. I believe somebody built the computer that could do this.
Built a computer that could do what? Break in?
Well, I'm just going back to the simpler analogy that I picked for my fucked up head. They can listen to two conversations and pick out a word.
Yeah, they listen to. Okay, so let me fill you in on what state of the
I was going to fill my own self in. Give me 10, 12 seconds. One guy did
Why
that.
let you do a half fill? Let me do a real pour. Okay? Literally.
Cover it, but okay. I'll capitulate.
They can literally sit there on top of every major node and do full live stream copy and forwards of everything that goes over the internet. It literally.
And my only comment to that was it started with one guy that developed the technology to do two conversations. NSA only put more computing power at it.
No, they changed everything, and they took filters out of the way. You're talking about Bill Binney and Thin Thread, and before that there was Echelon, where they described it as a fine-tooth comb that they can run through the internet and just pick up only one person. Was literally able to pull the needle from the haystack. Then they decided, fuck it, we need all the hay we can get. And so now they literally are basically trying to do a live stream record of all internet data and then parse through chunks of that, save some of it.
Hundreds of thousands of minds does it take to do that? Once they get it to a palatable state,
all it takes is one evil one, and it already happened. Okay, they have found a way to justify
the Apple commercial for the 1984 release of the Mac. That face up on the big screen, our enemies will bury themselves. They're gonna have so much fucking data, they're not gonna know what the fuck to do with it.
They already do, dude. They've run out of space. That's why the CIA has a $600 million contract with frickin' Amazon services. Such a big contract that Jeff Bezos got put onto the board of the Pentagon. Oh, and he bought New York Post. New York Compost in the process for what? 20 million, 60 million? He overpaid. But that's always been a CIA rag. So he's got this massive contract for $600 million a year. He buys a publication so he can speak as thou sayest and spin the spell with words, because that's how you spell. That's how you write a spell.
Salvation to all of these things is that plant that you and I work with, because that plant has one power I haven't heard you say in a long time.
It breaks their programming.
That's right. That plant, when people do the things they do with it, it gives them. Nixon got real pissed off about it because those hippies on his lawn, he thought the White House lawn was his lawn.
Well, check this out. If he got so pissed off, he was there in 1974. Don't you find it curious that's the year that they got a patent on fucking cannabinoids?
But he was
that was under Nixon, people.
Well, it may have been under him, but idea came from all he thought was, damn, my dick's so little, what am I going to do? Ban it.
Yep.
Anyway, that's a different topic for a different night. I'm just saying that all this stuff is ominous and threatening, but if Trump does what I saw 3 different messages in my inbox this morning about what he's talking about doing, I'm not saying Hillary won't, but if he does, as he's going to say, fuck you to the establishment that's fucking with him, he doesn't know what you said earlier. I don't believe Trump has got anybody on his team thinking like you said earlier, what it would do for us. $40 trillion a year GNP, that'd be awesome.
50,000 products.
And it will break that intellectual thing that I say, sorry, Republicans and oldsters, but this shit cured my cancer. Sorry. It is going to let the dominoes fall. I've already seen stoic dinosaurs in my family wanting to know if you and I can do something if Texas goes right.
Yeah.
That was a dream the last time I mentioned that to you. Just a dream.
Yeah.
Now they're wondering, can they put their money in this?
Yeah. Actually, you got half the company here, 2/3 of it.
I'm just honorary, right? Still? Yes.
Yep.
Like the lapdog of the organization.
Well, yeah, I mean, Tony shows up for all the meetings. You haven't made one yet.
I would love to figure out how we football me some medicine. That's what's kicking my ass right now.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was like when you forwarded the cash. I'm like, now you got to fly or drive.
No, I was kind of hoping that you would save those bottles for me in credit. I'm not looking for anything weird, but I'm looking if I could get some traction.
Dude, I'll mail you out some caregiver. You've got some RSO or know somebody who does.
I'd have to go get more.
Yeah, well, but you can do that, by the end of the week?
I don't know, man. Right now, I'm trying to move this Macintosh. I'm going to be a whore for a half a second for a positive reason.
Well, hold on 1 second, because the reason I say that is even by the end of next week, I'm not going to start looking to break the law.
No. That wasn't where I was going, Tim. Where I was going was, I've got, say, $8,000, $10,000 in Macintosh amps.
Yeah.
2 Cornwall speakers. I ain't giving up my K-horns unless somebody's blonde with big titties. And I still don't want to. But I've got, $15,000, $20,000 worth of gear to get gone. They're on eBay. And I'm not thinking any of you guys, including you, Timmy, are buyers. You run across somebody that's an audio nut, tell them you know a guy in Texas that'll give you a deal. I need to get this shit gone so I can get on a plane.
Yeah.
My plan for those 2 bottles I bought was to put them in a vape bottle.
Oh. Well, don't vape
because
them.
I can. Well, tell me about briefly, Tim.
Yeah.
Tell me about in a later conversation. I can't say the fucking name of it. beta carotene. That doesn't sound
Beta
right.
carotene.
One of them has the smell. It doesn't necessarily have to.
Carotene oxide. Carotene oxide.
You sent me one time, and I think I was in Breck, that it was cinnamon only. But it's kind of like my RSO experience. Some of my RSO, I pop the top, and it's like, oh, skunk weed. And other times I'll pop the top, and it's like, is there anything fucking in here? And instead of putting a little bitty pinhead dab, I'll put like a pencil eraser dab on there, and 3 hours later, I'm thinking, I'm feeling really good and sleepy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was loaded.
Yeah.
That's the thing I really don't like about RSO is I trust this guy because I've seen what he does, but unless he's cloning plants, he cannot guarantee me what I'm getting.
No, but that's true for everybody.
Plain.
That's true for everybody. The thing is what you have to realize. That's the purpose of the test.
He delivers to a dispensary. He doesn't test. He grows. He rips. He delivers. They do all shit.
Okay.
And what he tells me, and he's the first thing he said to me was, "I don't want to sell this to you if you don't want it."
Yeah.
And I was kind of like hat in hand, trying to be respectful and not disrespectful.
Yeah.
I said, "Look, I need to live, and the cannabinoids I need are FICO."
Yeah,
period.
But you know what? I have an argument with that. If FICO is kind of like saying, it ain't beef unless it's Kobe.
I hear you, Kenny. I really do.
You can take FICO and you can distill out all its individual components, and you can compare that individual component to something else that's a distillate that is literally an isolate of that one component. And they're molecularly the same. Okay? The only thing that's happening is that they're being put together by nature in that. And there is that.
You just said it, Tim. I haven't been able to say this in 3 years. You just said it. It sounds to me sometimes like I'm kissing your ass when I tell you that your holy cannabis oil is the shit that I can put 4, 5, 6, whatever the number is, drops under my tongue at 6 a.m. And I don't think about it again until 5:55 the next morning.
Yeah.
I use his in the same manner.
Yeah.
Just training.
Yeah.
But there are days that I want a nap at 11 and there's days that I don't.
Yeah.
With yours, I never had that except the car wreck. I did like a half a dropper that night. There was no thought process. I just thought, I'm going to sleep. And I woke up the next morning and I didn't have the next day's sores.
Yeah.
Probably because I slept good.
Yeah.
But no, on those two that we talked about via PayPal, you know what? I'm going to poke at it every now and then just because I can't help myself. But I really expected those might just be on your shelf.
They're sitting there for you.
And if they didn't
they haven't been made yet. Let me technically be 100%. I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
Words.
I'm waiting for the distillate. As soon as I have that in hand, me and Tony already talked about this earlier today, and we will within the next supposedly 48 hours. I will. So.
Well, but seriously, on this topic, there's only a few of us here in this chat. At some point,
yeah, this is only happening live on the internet. Totally.
At some point, there are other people in this circle. If we can football this shit, hand to hand to Reno, hand to hand to Phoenix, hand to hand somewhere. My problem is I can get gone, but if I get on an airplane, under what is it? Is it 3 ounces airline, or is it 2? Whatever it is.
I don't know.
I mean, as long as it doesn't smell and it's in an e-juice bottle, I'm not afraid.
Yeah, well, I don't think that. I mean, we won't know until we run the test on it. It hasn't been made yet, but and this is some cannabis. I have about 100 pounds I've been sitting on for quite a while, And I don't mind sitting on it because what happens is the THC decarboxylizes into CBN. And I like to always have about 0.4 milligrams of CBN in every 6 drops. But the reality of it is...
The head shake is not Pavlovian, right?
What?
The head shaking here is not Pavlovian.
No.
It's just music. I'm hearing music.
Okay. Like your head don't shake, remember? You're not on video.
Oh, I forgot I wasn't on vid. That's fine.
DTD.
Anyway.
Yeah, okay.
It was shaking up and down as you speak.
Yeah, well, now I got to go back to remember what I was telling you. Oh, yeah, okay. So 0.4 of CBN is based off of all the past bottles I've made, which was of holy cannabis oil. What I'm going to make first this time isn't holy cannabis oil. I'm first going to make some train wrecks. We're going to make some holy shit. Okay. And this will be 10 milligrams a drop. And these are personal bottles for just cool people who kind of have asked us to do this. Michael is one of them. He got 2 waiting once he makes it to California. And,
or once I meet that right person.
Yeah. As soon as you,
because I'm not looking to anybody to go anywhere.
If you manage to pull off that, and I don't recommend this, I'm trying to say this to be funny, but if you remember, I talked about at the very beginning that movie Impulse, where they have these seizures, but the seizure actually causes them to be teleported and physically, truthfully teleported. Like the one girl jumps into a freaking river to prove that this is really what's going to happen. And she's got rocks in a backpack duct taped to her. And when it's like truly fear because she knows she's going to die and there's no way somebody can save her, all of a sudden this vortex gets created in the lake. Boom, and she pops back out in her bedroom. But she's had it happen 3 times so far. So until you figure out how to take and match that skill, we'll have to play this one by ear. But it. And I'm
not pushing. All I'm saying is,
I know.
I did it once. I don't want to do it again.
Yeah. Exactly. I can only. I know of people have allegedly mailed things. I allegedly have no desire to be in jail, so I realistically don't. I don't have some deep-seated rape fantasy.
Well,
no, thank you.
I'm just thinking a caregiver or a distributor pack of the blue bottles.
Yeah, the blue bottles. Yeah, there's no issues there.
And I'm just thinking that, the parchment label that got ripped, put a blue label around them, and put a blue label around these others, and then just hand it off to a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
If you can pack that shit right, I've got a ride coming in August from there to here. Somebody's
got to take it over a state boundary.
Well, this would be an old woman and her daughter, but it's just
I did go check with Human Resources, and we're not currently hiring drug mules.
And if you were, I would get the first interview.
You could fit a lot in that leg, dude. We'd load you up. That'd actually be crazy, huh?
This was the idea about that A5. That Icon plane.
Oh, yeah. Those are dope, dude. Those are super realistic. Look, you can buy that today.
Yeah, but I shouldn't. I got off that fantasy thinking about the story at my eulogy. He lived through this. He lived through that. He lived through this. He was in.
Then he had to go get a fucking airplane.
Then he went and got an airplane because he was stupid. And he didn't have any problem, but, the bird flew into his engine, and there he is in that box. Well, we could scoop up off the ground.
Yeah. And all you got to do is drop a parachute on the back of that thing, and it'll drop nicely.
I think it has a parachute, if I remember right.
It might. It might be.
Hey, listen, we're going to figure this out. And it ain't going to be in this call. That wasn't my reason for bringing that up at all.
Yeah.
But I am real interested in seeing if that is not something I can have 8 ounces of someday over a period of time, obviously.
Yeah.
Because if 10 mil per drop, and it gets mixed in with the caregiver, it seems to me like it might make how many bottles of HCl?
6.
So 1 to 6?
No. Yeah, 6.
And you know what? We're, again,
And the reason I would like to take, in my head, I want to make it 20 to 30 milligrams per drop.
That's what I want.
Okay.
That would get me on an airplane.
Yeah. Reality of it is that's also illegal in a half-ounce bottle, because you now have enough concentrates that you bump up against federal restriction.
Yeah. Because listen, and they're not wrong. What if I meet a woman and I got that bottle in my bathroom in the medicine cabinet, and she says, oh, and she drinks 3 drops?
Then she's not leaving your house for 3 days.
I understand that, but I'm telling you, that law is good. I see the logic in that law. I don't see the logic in me having to suffer.
No, the first thing is in a half-ounce bottle. Okay, if I go to a quarter-ounce bottle, I can actually make it 20 milligrams a drop. Okay, if my math is right, in a 20-ounce, in a 8 milliliter bottle. Okay, because these are 15 milliliters. So in one half the size, an 8 milliliter bottle, 20 milligrams per drop is the strongest I can make it. After that, there's too much in that bottle and it becomes illegal. It's just because what I'm talking about making it with is so fucking concentrated to begin with. Okay? This is why FICO is interesting, but you can't always get the same thing. And I have nothing against FICO.
No, but Grogot has said exactly what you're saying in a private chat to me about her experiences trying to make the recipe you're making. She kept saying, I just can't hit it. I can't do it. And, I was a neophyte at the time. And what I said to her is, well, where's your material coming from? And she says, wherever I can get it. I said, and there's your problem.
No.
You've got to have consistency.
No. You have to have access to the whole chain. If I had $209,000, I could turn around and be making some of this shit right now. Well, okay, let's say if I had the $209,000 a week ago and gave it to the right people, I can have all the shit, although I don't know where I'd be putting it because I can't put it where I'm at. But we just tell Tony.
You're talking about growing, or are you talking about acquiring?
I'm talking about what it takes to be able to own the whole part of the chain. So there's an extraction machine that does it with ethanol, 40 minutes a batch, and then you rotovape that out, and you can get it down to like what I will be buying here.
Rotovape is still
have to rotovape it. You got to get the ethanol out.
What I'm saying is that rotovape, is that the still?
Yeah.
Because James has described his stuff to me in CO2, and then he uses a still to get back to what he wants.
Yeah, CO2 is great. The advantage of CO2 is it's completely clean. The disadvantage is you're working with something that's at 4,000 to 5,000 PSI. So if things go wrong, it's always preceded with a boom.
Right. You don't get the oh shit out till after.
Well, with BHO, it's preceded with fire. So that one's pretty fucked up too. But if you're working with ethanol and you're working with super cooled ethanol, then you can drop a match into it and it won't light. It's too cold. But you have to have it insanely cold. It has to be down to like 50 degrees C. But it doesn't pull any of the.
Your words have pushed me back to James this one more time. If I call James up and I get he gets $15 a gram, 100 grams, $1,500.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, that's 3 bottles. So that's 33, and 33. And I can never do the fucking math because I don't have my spirals out anymore. But if I hit him up and I just get a third of that, $500 worth of just sativa, he keeps wanting to go sativa and indica, and I'm like, dude, give me fucking pot. I don't want to be up and I don't want to be out. I want pot. I don't
You want
want one
hybrid.
strain or the other. I want you to do it.
Yeah.
But, those guys that and I'm like, motherfucker, I want to kill cancer cells. And I might could do it with CBD. I've been searching that since you and I talked about it.
Yeah, totally. See, if you take THC and you just back it with some CBD, you amplify the effects of the THC itself.
What I've been doing is getting from
And
him
Tony can get even more specific on that.
But also you need alpha humulene, which is found in hops, and alpha humulene is the terpene that excites the apoptosis in the cells.
Dude, I'm thinking.
So does beta carotene.
And then
That is-
carotene is the catalyst to alpha humulene.
Okay.
So there has to be like 51% of beta carotene bioactive to fully activate alpha humulene, where it starts killing cancer cells.
All right. So I'm clean today. I've killed them with Tim's stuff. Beta carotene is where I'm getting the smell. Yes, that's the only thing that's ever worried me about doing anything is if I pop that bottle and somebody smells skunk.
No. First off, what we're doing, this is why you don't use FECO. You use FECO, you're definitely going to smell skunk. If you're using distillate, there's no smell. This is going to taste it. I'm not 100% certain. When was the last time you bought any Holy Christ oil?
Dude, there is in a 2 ounce or an ounce and a half bottle, there's 75% of that still, and that is from the 60 bottles.
Okay.
And it's Christ oil. It's Christ oil, but it might have 30% cannabis oil in it too. I don't know because of the way that shit was mixed.
Oh yeah, you mixed your stuff up.
Well, it was that, or James was going to chunk it in the damn trash.
Yeah. Well,
if I can get close or there on site, we'll do that same thing again.
Well,
and I can collect my 2 bottles.
Yeah.
No, not shipping. No. Not the mail part. I'm talking about the on-site and then use a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that I'm not worried about. That doesn't even need to be part of a conversation. It needs to happen when you're actually face to face.
Sorry, I keep forgetting this is not Signal.
Well, yeah, A, it's not Signal, but B, it's also like, how else am I going to do it? I don't mail THC. CBD.
I pushed you as far as I ever planned to, Tim.
Yeah, no.
And it wasn't a hard push, I don't think. We need to off-site, off this call, we need to talk about the caregiver. And I can hit, I've sold some of this stuff. I just told a guy, I got to say this one funny thing. Guy hit me for my Cornwall speakers, way under the price. And I finally hit him back and I said, dude, if I do this deal with you, it'll be just like a broken pencil. He came back and said, I don't understand. I said, pointless.
Yeah.
That was a little one. But
anyway.
As much as you're smoking, you should have laughed your ass off.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Comprehension is more required. My back is sore from sitting here. We've been doing this. We've been on this a long time.
I want to talk about this other stuff more later, but those 2 bottles, I expect to be there when I get there.
Absolutely. Totally will
and
be.
If they're 8 milliliter and they're 20s, I ain't going to bitch.
And if they're a 32 fluid ouncer, you'll manage. Hell,
dude, have I bitched yet?
What you need is a what do you call it? A camel bag.
Yeah.
Explain.
Camel pack.
With the little nipple that you.
Oh no! I'm a real connoisseur of this process. I use that eyedropper. I look in a mirror, 1, 2, 3, however many the number. I've already brushed my teeth. My mouth smells good for a while. I ain't got to worry about it. Go drink some coffee. With RSO, what I do is I've got this little app. Oh, I'm not on video, so I can't show you. But I've got this little tool I use to work on laptops. Just a metal pick. I stab it in the bottom of the RSO, pull it out, and if it's small enough, I pour hot coffee over it and I drink it. If it's too big, I wipe it on the side of that white chemistry-looking bottle and leave it for another day. I figure I only need enough. And I was taught by a gray-headed guy, little bit of salt and pepper left, least effective dose always. And that's the reason I've still got 2 or 3 ounces out of 30 this long later.
I didn't know you had any left.
Huh?
I didn't know that you had any left.
Well, it's one of those blue bottles.
You just describe it as I don't have any left.
But I don't have any of what I need left. I have no cannabis oil.
Yeah.
If I've got any, it's in that bottle, and it ain't much.
Yeah.
I could knock it out before Monday.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Yeah.
So anyway, listen.
I'm curious what that one is, because I know it could be mixed. It could be because
it is definitely mixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what? I need to get back on schedule, and all I'm looking for, noodle this. You've got a brain trust there, Tim. I got a guy in a 3500 Dodge pickup that wants to go all the fucking way to San Francisco, and I keep telling him, dude, I ain't got that much diesel money.
Yeah.
But he swears that's the one way to do it.
In a diesel truck?
Well, it's what he's got.
Yeah.
And I just keep thinking, why don't we go to Enterprise and rent something? And he says, oh, that's red flags. All of a sudden, you're a fucking drug dealer.
Well, yeah. I don't know how to do it across a state line. There's the problem. You know?
Dude, if I had a way to come there, I believe I would.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm looking at a lot of good-looking men here. I don't see anybody there that I can imagine saying, hey, can I come crash with you?
Yeah.
I just got a few bags. I don't feel that.
Yeah. Well, shit. Yeah. Right now, I don't have a place even I can tell anybody to crash at.
You need to fix that fucking shit. You might meet her tomorrow.
I know. Trust me. I need to. It has been a topic of great conversation. And as soon as this last little piece falls into gear, if I can really execute on what I think I can, then 3 months, 6 months time, that won't be one of my issues. I think I got somebody who I can take and use to take and get this into a shitload of places. So that just being able to take and make a shitload of it at a time, that's going to happen as a very painful growth spurt as we go from everything's manual to something with some automation to up to high volume. But
and listen, I ain't shooting at you, Tim, but I'm going to tell you the truth. If Oklahoma's doing it and Colorado's doing it, I don't know that Texas is ever going to flip. I ain't got no hope anywhere.
Yeah, Abbott seems pretty pro on it, or what? Maybe it wasn't Abbott. It was the old sheriff.
I don't think he's negative on it. I think the problem is, and I might have got a little bit of traction the other night when I typed out my little text of, if Colorado can bring 163 million positive to their budget, we're 8 times bigger. 32 seconds later is when I got a private call from that office asking me when could I be in Austin and what was my question for the night.
Yeah.
You know, 1.3 billion to Texas might get the job done.
Well, the sad thing is what we're not getting is what we really need, which is absolute decriminalization.
And I wish there was a camera, because I'm pointing up not at God so much as Washington.
Well, you're the only one who can change that. You can't even blame that on Washington. That one's on you.
No, Trump has made the comment, and he started the process of conversation. That was the big thing I got in email. And I was kind of thinking, this is fucked up. But I want to believe it's true. It's my problem with some of the topics we covered tonight. I'm open to any discussion except one that paints my savior as an egg-headed, kind of a watermelon-headed Ethiopian space alien mix. That's the only one I couldn't jihad to at all.
Give you a
That's
week.
the only video you've ever given me that I deleted.
Which one? I'm not sure which one you're talking
I
about.
can't. 450,000 years was in the title.
Oh, I don't know.
And this guy went through, you know, this is Jesus. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm done. And stopped it, deleted it, took it off my hard drive because it's like, no, fuck you. I know that story. I learned it, you know, long ago. And I'm thinking human. I'm not thinking anything else. I'm just thinking human birth.
Well, I can teach you the dark side of Christianity, the conspiracy side. Everything starts off as a cult. Everything. Okay? Because there's
Well, there really was
always
no Jewish
something
people if it
predominant.
all started with the Scythians.
But I mean, Mithra is what the Romans practiced before the Council of Nicaea, when Constantine made Christianity the centerpiece of it. All they did was just take the whole cult of Mithra and call him Jesus Christ, and voila! Look, he's new and improved.
I'm down on that one right there, Timmy. Explain Max von Sydow. How the fuck does Max von Sydow fit into that analogy?
Who the hell's Max von Sydow?
Played Jesus in a fucking movie, didn't he?
This ain't a movie.
I was just Timmy, I'm desperately trying to get you to crack a smile.
Jesus Christ.
I've heard worse arguments from more spiritual people. Listen, guys, I'm getting punchy. That's the reason I'm getting off topic.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is a goat that should have been sautéed a long time ago.
Guys, noodle on my personal issue. I'll make it happen with the cash.
Well, listen, no, actually, I think before you go, the thing that would be wise to talk about is if you have access to buy 100 grams at $1,500, we can sell you holy caregiver oil that you can turn around and turn into holy cannabis oil in your legal state.
I turned that into a math equation, and I came up with $23 a bottle plus $15 a gram. And there's going to have to be a gram in each bottle, so we're at $40.
No, it's not. It's 680 milligrams.
I don't understand the math.
0.608 grams.
Okay, so it's not a full gram. It's 0.68.
Right. Yeah.
Paste.
And that
Am
takes
I eyeballing that?
And that takes it to, that should take it real close to 10 milligrams. Because there's 360 drops in a bottle.
Here's my question. And I'm going to do it now since you opened the topic. If I have, and I'm not on vid, so I can't show you, but if I had his shit right here, how the fuck do I properly get it? Do I need to ask him to give it to me in a different state than paste?
No, it's going to be paste because of how concentrated it is.
Right.
What I get, the same thing I get is going to be paste. What you're going to do is you're going to take and you're going to have all of the liquid. You can either take and weigh it out into little 0.608 slugs, little ball bearing looking things, and then drop it in each bottle and stick them on.
Am I then going to set those bottles on like a coffee warmer or something to get a reaction of?
No, it'll melt in over time. Let them sit for a week. Roll them around.
Okay, fine. Never mind.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking I either needed a centrifuge or to understand how a coffee warmer would help this. But if you're saying just let it happen over time,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you can add heat, but the problem is if you add heat, you're going to start converting. You're going to lose some of your THC, and you're going to end up accumulating more CBN, which is fine if you want to go night-night.
Right?
What, Tony?
I was hoping you were about to say if I could get it $15 a gram, you want me to get, a fuckload of grams and give some to you.
Well, then you still got to move it over state lines. Fuck that. That's why I'm trying to find it here.
Okay.
And I got that squared away. And it's the good thing about doing business with this guy is he's actually a graduate from Stanford Business School, economics. I know his shit's going to be clean and tight and done right. He's, the biggest fucking mainstream media punching board I've ever fucking seen. He just watches MSN all goddamn day long.
Right.
He's so right wing, it's fucking absolutely comical. But, you know, still a good guy. I can completely know you're batshit crazy on politics and still deal with you. He doesn't think, you know, yeah. If I said that question I asked the three of you, unlike Tony, who said Russia because he thought he would be funny and go against the grain, right?
Yeah.
He would be saying it. He'd be going, fucking Russia. I know him. I don't trust him. No, they fucking hacked the election. Look what they did. Now we got Trump. He'd be all up on that shit. And he's more Republican, but he still thinks Trump is the most. I actually think Trump might be the best fucking thing to ever happen to us. First off, America doesn't deserve a good president. We could have had Ron Paul. That would have been a great president. Bernie Sanders would have been a little bit batshit crazy, wanted to tax us more, and we're already taxed too much. But at least he'd start looking at spending money back on us, and I would call that room. I'm trying to find out how you get to Star Trek, okay? How do you take me from back over here where you're not taking all my money and get me back up over to here where actually we're going places in space? And not to kill people, okay? Because that's back down somewhere over here, okay? Still forward, but it's not.
I heard you mention the trillions of dollars that were missing. You know those trillions of dollars?
51 trillion.
Existed, right? Yep, they never existed.
Well, the first
Fed doesn't have any money. But you mentioned it about the South African dude. The Fed's not created a fucking thing except a printing press.
No, they've granted the right to write bonds that they turn around and they sell to the Treasury Department. The Treasury still does all the printing, but the Treasury doesn't do anything unless they're buying bonds from the U.S. Federal Reserve System, or somebody's creating it in a bank account somewhere, and new money is spontaneously created as every new debt.
Yeah, I said provocatively that, you know, I lost my house in the divorce. I didn't lose my house. I threw the motherfucker away. But that money never existed. I used to say that Wells Fargo gave me a wheelbarrow full of cash to buy that house. They did not.
No.
They never gave me a penny. They gave me a piece of paper.
They gave you a wheelbarrow full of debt. You were supposed to fill it up and send it back.
And I did for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Until an idiot decided that I was going to pay for it and she was going to live in it. And then, of course, I called her up and said, hey, guys, it's been great. But that never existed.
Yeah. Anyway,
so
now we're off now we're off on wild tangents.
Hey, listen,
this is going to be
listen, brother,
this is going to be
it's about to be 10.
This is going to be terrible to try to edit down. So
cut everything that Davis said the fuck out.
Huh?
Just cut everything Davis said the fuck out.
Well, I was trying to I want to have 5 that kind of cover to get us up to the point of synthetic reality. Okay, that was the initial concept. Whether that may have been a false reality right there.
No, man, I'm telling you, you can cover that. Next time, let me talk about Buddhism, because Buddhism is the one that pulls the curtain back and shows you. You want to feel better?
Well, you should have fucking done that this time, diddlywad.
You got what I had because I'm kind of, you know, a roulette table.
All right. Anyway, on that note, shall we close this out?
Do we need to get together and like say a prayer and shit?
No.
Or chant? I love it.
You can blow smoke at your speaker.
And there you have it. Timmy, I love you, man. More later.
All right. Take it easy, Tony. Take it easy, Michael.